had been erased by May and the beginning part of June. They'd be 500 today. 500. They're not, thank God. I mean, nice job by George Kirby specifically and the team in general finding a way to get a win yesterday. But, yeah, we would have come in here today saying 500, 3.5 games back in the West. And instead, the story makes, it's not great. You've still, kind of been here on a really tough stretch. What are they, 11 now and 17 in their last 28? 11 and 17? So, I mean, they're not playing great ball. They lose another series, this one to the Angels. Their bullpen is all kinds of problems. I almost texted you guys when they announced the Trent Thornton return of just like, oh, they should solve everything. And then, he gives it up the next day. One of a few. I mean, just, it's been a tough go here. Going all the way back to that last homestand with the Blue Jays and Yankees. But then you went out on the road, right? You remember, and you sweep San Diego, and you get to see the good version of this team, which is, as split personality as you're going to find. And then they went to Chicago, and there were some cracks in the armor a little bit, right? And, I don't know, but they win 2 out of 3 because Chicago's awful. But then, again, you lose 3 out of 4 to Houston. Then you come home for what was really not a good homestand, right? Drop 2 out of 3 to a bad Washington team. Win 2 out of 3 against a pretty good Minnesota team. That's the strangest thing about this whole run is the 2 best teams the Mariners have played during this whole run are probably the Twins and the Padres. Maybe you put the Astros in there. I think the Twins might be better than the Astros, but whatever. You beat those teams. It's everybody else that's been a problem. Because after that, it was, swept by Baltimore, as you know, and then lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels. I mean, you lost 4 out of 6 series here. And of the 2 that you won, one of them was to a White Sox team that I don't know that you can. I'm like, when's the last time the White Sox won a series? They're hard. It's hard to lose a series to the White Sox. You got to try. So, I don't know, put all those things together, and I do think yesterday was a really, really important game for the Mariners, and specifically cool to see George Kirby kind of get it done. He was tremendous. I mean, just awesome yesterday.
Well, I think it's kind of easy to forget because we haven't had the chance to see that for much of the season, what peak George Kirby and Logan Gilbert bring, because Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans have done so well filling in. But then you're like, oh, yeah, he's different. Yeah, I forgot. We haven't seen that in a minute.
Difference between a quality start and dominance. I mean, he made one mistake in that game. Ward hit it about 450 feet. But other than that, I mean, he was almost perfect for the entirety of that game. I mean, just totally focused and just had this great confidence about him. I think that's what kind of jumped out to me is watching his last couple of starts. I didn't see a tremendous amount of confidence from George Kirby. Looked like he was looking for it, trying to find it. Maybe he got a little of it back in the last start. And then yesterday, you just get to see the full, I'm in charge here. At the end, as he was just striking everybody out, 1, 2, 3, I just felt like one after another. You just see in his face, there was one pitch that was, it missed by a hair, right? And the ump called it a ball. And you could just see the tight shot on Kirby's face. He didn't argue or anything because, you don't do that. But he just kind of shook his head a little bit like, ugh. It was almost like a teenager eye roll. And then he just went back and struck the guy out on the next pitch. Just like, all right, whatever. I don't need you. You're in my way. I am just dominating this game right now. And that's why I will use that phrase about, the game speeding up versus the game slowing down. When you're confident, the game seems so slow. You're never in a rush, and yet you're working fast. You see it with golfers when they start getting hot, and I was watching some of the golf this weekend in Canada. When they get hot, they're up to the tee and they're ready to go, and there's such a rhythm to it. Remember Matt Hasselbeck talking to us about that for his Seahawks teams, that when they were going best, it was all about their rhythm. It was about that pattern of when you get up there and what it looks like and the confidence that comes with that. And I think you saw that from Kirby yesterday. The problem is the team in general has played over the last few weeks as if the game has sped up on them. I actually like some of the things they did this weekend. I know they lost 2 out of 3, But I actually thought what we saw this weekend looked more like what you're supposed to see from this Mariner team than what we've seen in a while. And it eventually led to a win yesterday, but it led to 4 and 5 runs a couple of days before. I mean, or 5 and 6 runs. I mean, they started to score some runs. They stole bases this weekend, which I think was good. We talked about that last week. Hey, what happened to all of the stolen bases? What did they steal, 5 or 6 this weekend? They got after it a little bit in Anaheim and started running a little wild on the base paths. You got to see, some guys that you've been kind of waiting on do their thing. Polanco, Julio, Randy, Cal. And yes, by the way, it is a big deal that Cal got a full day off yesterday. And they won. That's a huge thing. Just let that man rest now and again. Ben Williamson. I mean, there were a lot of guys that I thought really, really stood up and mattered this weekend. 209. Aren't you the guy who said he'd put Kirby in the bullpen? I am. Still not convinced that wouldn't be the right thing to do long term, but that was a tremendous outing yesterday. Again, that's not the ideal. It's how are you going to find a way to fit everybody in here? And as I said, I do think Kirby would make a nasty reliever. Problem you got is that was also a big start for Bryce Miller. Didn't go quite as well. And we were kind of having that conversation on Friday, hey, Logan Gilbert's coming back. What are you going to do? You see anything from Bryce Miller to tell you one way or another that he's going to be good here now for the rest of the way? I don't know that I could say I saw that. Did you see that, Lyle?
His velo stayed up throughout the start, so that was nice. But yeah, results-wise, still struggling.
And I'm loath to say all right, that's done. Forget that. Let's take Bryce out, have the surgery. God, you got to be real sure if you're going to do that. That's a nuclear kind of option. And yet Logan Gilbert probably going to make one more start, and then he's going to be back in this rotation. You're going to have to do something. So I'm going to go back to what I said before. I still don't love it as an answer, but this was where I ended up. And no, I didn't ultimately say my choice would be immediately to put Kirby in the bullpen. What I said is after thinking through it, I think the thing to do is going to ultimately be to send Emerson Hancock down. I don't love it. It's not what I want to do necessarily, but I do think it's what you got to do when Logan's back. You just go with the 5 guys that it was supposed to be. That's just what you do, and you roll with your guys. And if somebody else gets hurt, then you're ready to bring him back. But as much as I've been impressed with and I think he's a pro. I think he's a major leaguer. He's going to start tonight in Arizona. I like Emerson Hancock a lot. But I think that's ultimately what you got to do. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll give you guys everything you need to know. I did something last night that will shock you, and I have a comment about it next on Brock and Salk.
Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald, exclusively with Brock and Salk.
Your cohort, Mr. Schneider, talked a lot this offseason about pivoting. How was all of that?
It's kind of how we operate. You're looking at the lens of what we're trying to build, what's going to be best for us. I know it seemed like a lot, but we had time kind of behind the scenes here. And I thought we ended up with a team we're really excited about. The guys that are here are fired up for.
Watch the full conversation on the Seattle Sports YouTube page or get the podcast on the Seattle Sports app.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien. Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
The best mornings
in the morning light
start with Wrangler.
Pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started on the right foot.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Good mornings make for better days.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Wrangler, for the ride of life.
You've probably heard of speed dating, but what if there was something similar for hiring, especially if you're running a growing business? There is Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and talk to interested qualified candidates tomorrow. Simply select a time, and Zip Intro finds and schedules qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you'd like to connect with and meet and greet people through back-to-back video calls starting as soon as the next day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/USL. That's ZipRecruiter.com/USL.
The home of the Mariners, Seattle Sports.
Cal swinging a drive, deep to right field.
Every pitch of every Mariners game is on the Seattle Sports app.
Need a new roof, a deck, siding, windows? Get up to $3,000 off any new installation. Hi, it's Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. Home projects can add up fast, but we're here to help you save big. Book now and lock in up to $3,000 off in savings. That's $3,000 off any new installation. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com to schedule your free estimate today. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Got neighbors? Big Trees can help. This is Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. If you've been considering planting trees to add privacy, look no further than Big Trees. Privacy trees fill in empty spaces, help to define property lines, and add curb appeal. Learn more about Big Trees' big supply of privacy trees at bigtreesupply.com.
Beauty, privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
Experience the thrill of a lifetime this summer with a share of $320,000 in prizes. We're making waves every Saturday in June from 3 to 10 p.m. with double winners every hour. Come one, come all to the Coastal Carnival of Cash. Claim one free daily entry. Don't forget, your Reef Rewards card can save you up to 25 cents per gallon at Lummi Bay Market next to Silver Reef. Silver Reef Casino Resort, located off I-5 exit 260.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims, like Alex. At just 16, she suffered trauma after a broadside collision with a delivery truck.
When I came in, they were so nice. They were just like, don't worry about anything. We'll take care of that. It's gonna be okay. Live your high school life. We got your back. And they did. I would recommend Rob because they have a passion for caring for people.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
This hour is brought to you by Community Transit.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
Well, after losing 5 straight, the Mariners needed something special yesterday. They got it from George Kirby. He was masterful.
His 3-2 to Ward. Strike 3 called, got him. 96, scraping the edge. Career high, strikeout 14 for George Kirby. He continues to dazzle here in Anaheim. What a day it's been for George.
Yeah, that was the 14th and final strikeout. Goes 7 innings. Only allowed a pair of runs. Came on a home run. He was dealing yesterday. And afterwards, yeah, I think pretty happy about what this whole thing has been like leading up to yesterday.
That was huge, yeah. Just get to see some swings and misses, just command the zone, get my slider out of the zone. I think, everything was working really well today, so it's just a great sign just to, as I'm progressing through the season, making each start, so.
Yeah, pretty good day. Offense, not great, but it was enough. Brash and Munoz pitched scoreless innings to lock down the win and avoid the sweep. Nice day for Randy Arozarena, Jorge Polanco as well. Nice to see him not just hitting right-handed, but hitting the ball and getting hits right-handed. That was cool. Win gets them back to 33-31. Houston lost, so they crawl back to 2.5 out in the division. Off to Arizona for 3 more. Emerson Hancock and Merrill Kelly go tonight. D-backs coming off being swept by the Reds. There are some rumors floating around. I don't know whether to address these or not, but I guess it's worth noting because there's some news that starts it all. Dominic Canzone was supposed to do a card show signing that got canceled. They said it was because he was going up to the big leagues. Everyone's wondering for who. Is it going to be? Are they going to cut Leody Taveras? I don't know, but I wonder, my guess is, if this all happened yesterday, if they had Canzone on hold in case Julio needed to go on the IL after getting hit with the line drive. As it turned out, Julio was fine. I wonder if that means Canzone ends up just going back to the Rainiers. I don't know, but that's my speculation. The other one, though, and I just saw a text about it as well, is that Logan Evans was scratched. Does that mean he's on his way back up? Does that mean that Bryce Miller's maybe not full go after his start? I don't know. That is an interesting one, and hopefully we'll find out more in the next couple days, maybe even later today.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Mini camp starts tomorrow for the Seahawks. First mandatory event of the offseason and the only one before training camp late next month. They'll practice tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, everyone is expected to be there, which is good, but also not that surprising. It's kind of like what they've had really throughout OTAs.
Typically, at least in years past, you've seen a handful of guys just not show up to any of them, and they would show up for the mandatory portion. And so to me, the bigger picture takeaway here is, and I think this is sort of by design here, like this is a team that I think there's going to be a little less individualism on this team. And that was something that Pete Carroll, I don't know if he welcomed it, but he sort of accepted it, knowing that, when you let players be themselves, you're a lot of times going to get the best out of them. That also comes at a cost. And there was a lot of drama that they've dealt with over the last few years. And I think that they are very much enjoying not having as much drama.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think that's a lot of what's behind their switch at quarterback as well. Good job there by Brady Henderson. And yes, should be full participation tomorrow. Lots of talk that they still need a corner and that they need a good one. And one just became available. Packers releasing star Jaire Alexander. He's only 28 years old. He's made a couple Pro Bowls. He wants to get paid, and he doesn't play a ton. He's missed a lot of games over the last few years. So, again, this probably would not be the direction I would go. I would be more interested in if you're going to go get a star defensive player, I would rather see them do it on the edge. But I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of talk that Jaire Alexander could be a Seahawk one day.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
Let's see, NBA and NHL finals both knotted up at 1 apiece after a second overtime game in Edmonton, finished with a Brad Marchand goal, which won it for the Panthers. That was his second goal of the day, second breakaway goal of the day. Pretty crazy. Thunder just blew the doors off of Indiana to tie things up yesterday. All right, I'll admit it to you guys. I watched basketball yesterday. I did. How come you guys never told me about this SGA guy? He's good. Why didn't you guys ever mention him to me? First time I've watched the NBA all year. First time I've ever seen the Thunder play. I don't know how to say this, and I feel bad saying it because I know how detested they are, and for good reason. And believe me, as I'm watching, I'm hoping they're going to lose, and hopefully it'll get tempered a little bit by some of the news that I'll give you in a sec. That team's insanely good. Oh my God. They are on everything. They look like they were playing at a completely different speed. Wow. I was legitimately impressed. Stanley Cup Game 3 tonight in Florida. And yes, PWHL expansion draft is today as well. Maybe this will help with the sting of Oklahoma City. It sounds like NBA expansion is getting closer to reality. League meetings taking place next month. Adam Silver says he expects it to be a big topic. Quote, it will be on the agenda to take the temperature of the room. We have committees that are already talking about it, but my sense is at that meeting, they're going to give direction to me and my colleagues at the league office that we should continue to explore. So it sounds like things are continuing to progress on the expansion front, which again, by all accounts, will lead to Seattle and Vegas getting teams. That is everything you need to know. 1:15 hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. Canzone was playing in Tacoma yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is then. I mean, it would surprise me if he were called up for Tavares. I guess you could do it. I mean, that would be really a quick waste of $4 million to bring up a guy in Canzone that has not done it at the major league level, and every time they've tried, he's not looked great. And then I think the thing that maybe bothers me most is that he just doesn't fit the style they say they want to play. He's not a good defensive player in right field. He's not fast. He doesn't steal bases. He doesn't help with the aggressiveness. I don't see that as a good fit. Trading Dominic Canzone, yes. Calling up Dominic Canzone, I don't see it. Now that I've said that, he'll probably come up and hit 10 home runs in 2 weeks. We'll be right back with a full trip around the weekend next. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
He's just eating right now.
Okay.
Cal Raleigh.
I like that.
How about that?
He's in the zone right now, and he's doing it from both sides of the plate, which is the most impressive thing. And he's played every single day, even on his day off.
You do think, are you going to get days off? I mean, you're hanging on to Garver to give Cal days off.
Right.
That's the one fear I have with Cal's season so far is hey, let's get this guy some time.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
When the heat's in 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
Because that heat's a real bummer.
dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave.
Keep your house cool and safe.
dayandnight.net. Make sure your AC will keep you cool this summer. Save $50 on a pre-summer AC tune-up. Or for a new system, save up to $6,000 on qualifying cooling equipment.
dayandnight.net.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien.
Cracked windshields happen, and if your car has a forward-facing camera, it needs to be recalibrated. All-Star Auto Glass is the professional choice for windshield replacement, repair, and recalibration. Call All-Star Auto Glass today.
Hey 12s, Steve Rabel here, voice of your Seattle Seahawks. The wait is over, and tickets are on sale now for our historic 50th season. This season is going to be legendary, with past, present, and future colliding at Lumen Field. Get your tickets today at Seahawks.com/tickets.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone
testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text BODY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text BODY to 321-321. That's BODY to 321-321.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
The home of the Mariners.
Left off to center. It is on its way. Julio, 2-run home run.
Hear every pitch on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
Synthetic Turf Northwest is now open in Fife, the South Sound headquarters for premium synthetic turf. They help homeowners with a turnkey solution, DIYers, and contractors and landscapers needing quality products. With premium turf in stock, expert advice, and pro installation services, everything you need is under one roof. Visit their new showroom off I-5 in Fife. Synthetic Turf Northwest. Supplies and installation expertise all in one place. Mention radio for up to $1,000 off. SyntheticTurfNorthwest.com.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first, on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
Allergy and sinus symptoms are annoying. They're frustrating and can ruin an entire day. They're also curable. I'm Dr. Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. We can free our patients of awful symptoms by testing and treating their allergies to simple, non-invasive treatments. Stop suffering from nasal congestion, sneezing, runny nose, facial pain, and even snoring. Let us help you get relief. Easily, quickly, and permanently. We're local in Federal Way and in Auburn. Come see us or book your appointment at sternsinus.com.
Brock and Salk's Rewind is presented by Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right. Yes, we're going to have Greg Bishop in. Last time Greg was in, you guys were so excited about him that wanted to make sure we had a chance to just come back and chat some, tell stories and everything else that Greg does well from all of his SI covers and everything else. So he will be in starting at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that. It was a busy weekend. It was a beautiful weekend, phenomenal weather. Hopefully you were out and about and exploring and doing fun stuff. And if you were, you might have missed one or two things in the world of sports. Thankfully, Maura has no life, and she's got you covered. Maura, what'd we miss?
I have life on Saturday, but not Sundays.
Oh, Saturday's your day of life?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Maura went paddleboarding this weekend.
I did. A little bit. I didn't get to stand up much because I had my dog with me, and she's not so sure about the paddleboard.
No.
So standing up just freaks her out. I feel like she's going to knock me off.
So you have to would you kneel or sit?
Kneel or sit, yeah.
That seems hard too, though. Like, got to keep your back up and stuff. Like, I think the kneeling or sitting would be challenging.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's like sitting in a kayak.
That's hard too.
I guess you don't have the back support, but I just like being on the water. It's very pretty.
All right.
We'll I know that the first couple games for the Mariners this weekend were rough, but there were some good things, so we'll go through them quickly. On Friday, we kind of touched on this already. You guys said that Bryce Miller's start was going to be important for determining what they do moving forward, but Logan Gilbert isn't coming back quite as quickly as we thought, so they maybe have a little time on that. Do you guys want to see another start from him before you make a determination? No, Bryce Miller. Or do you think that...
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of keep pushing that out.
Yeah.
I think I said before this one that was all I needed to see, but now I feel like I didn't like what I saw, so I want to see one more.
Went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs with a walk and 2 strikeouts.
You know, you just hate to make any kind of a decision based on anything small, right? I mean, the difference, though, with him and Kirby, and we said this all along, Kirby didn't have a spring training. Guys who don't have a spring training are going to take longer to get it figured out. In Miller's case, he had a spring training. In fact, he didn't even get a rehab start. He was only out 2 weeks. He missed 2 starts.
Well, and Kirby is back from an injury. Miller's just going to have to deal with this the rest of the year.
Also true. So put those two things together, and I should, in theory, have seen enough to be able to make a call. But I just don't feel it. Like, I don't know. I can't bring myself to say it. How's that?
Lyle, how are you feeling?
The threshold I always said with Bryce was let's see 3 starts when he gets off the IL. I would be okay seeing one more. And especially because the velo was up throughout the entire start this time. Like, that was a positive if you want to take away some positives. But I don't know. I would just be interested to see if Logan Evans getting scratched yesterday is anything more than managing workload, or if he's actually going to get called back up here because something's up with Miller or somebody else. I don't know. You know, Bryce Miller hasn't struck out more than 3 guys in a start this year.
It's just not who he is.
No, it just doesn't feel like he's totally right.
Yeah, and if he's not going to be right, they do have the personnel to be able to say, hey, man, we're just going to have to get you right. You're too valuable long-term to what the Mariners are doing. Yeah, I can understand it. I just, without knowing everything that's going on behind the scenes, from my perspective, yeah, I'd still want to see one more, but they have infinitely more access to information than we do.
Yeah, and I think you can hear it in some of his post-game, and then when he talked to Wyman and Bob the other day, too, that he admitted when he was having trouble pitching through the injury that it kind of started to affect his mental,
His mentals?
Yeah, his mentals. Just probably the confidence levels and everything, too, so I don't know if you're doing him favors by leaving him out there if he's not able to make the adjustments necessary to pitch through this. But we'll see. Yeah, I guess probably within the next few days we'll figure out what's going on there.
Well, he's supposed to start on Wednesday.
Okay.
Right? So just kind of looking at it, tonight you would get Emerson Hancock. Tomorrow should be Brian Wu. And then Bryce's spot would come up again on Wednesday. So if you are going to do something, we'd probably find out today or tomorrow.
All right, moving on in this game, J.P. Crawford got the M's on the board first with an RBI single in the 3rd, but Zach Neto tied it up with an RBI single of his own in the bottom of the inning. It kind of kept going like that. The M's got some traffic on the bases in the 4th with singles from Julio and Cal and a walk from Arozarena. A Rowdy Tellez sac fly and Leotis Taveras ground out would help bring in 2 more runs for a 3-1 lead, but once again, the Angels got it right back with a 413-foot Travis d'Arnaud home run off Miller in the 4th. Julio had a triple in the 5th to make it a 4-3 lead, but the Angels drove in 2 more runs in the 5th to take it right back. Julio also had a spectacular home run robbing catch in the 6th.
The 2-0. Swung on, lifted, center field. Julio racing back at the track, makes a leap at the wall. It's robbery. No fly zone. Julio brings it back. He robs Taylor of a home run, and that ends the inning. Julio has been magical defensively, and that play was amazing.
He continues, kind of like you said, to do probably more than people realize that are wanting more at the plate.
Yeah, he's done everything else. And by the way, he did have 4 hits in the first 2 games of the series before getting struck by the line drive, including that triple. So I mean, again, I have not been as frustrated with Julio as others have. That's not to say he's done enough. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that you're watching something you're not watching. Julio's not been good enough. I mean, you're waiting for more. But he does do a lot of the other things really, really well with the base running and the defense and just everything else he brings to the team. I think that stuff's important. And it's funny. I mean, he had that robbery What was going on with Joe Adele in right field? The home run that Cal hit, was that Saturday or Friday? I think it was. Which game did they go up 3-0 with the Cal home run? Saturday. Adele, what was he doing? That ball was hit like right to him. How did he not catch that? I mean, good on Cal. Take the home run. I mean, but all he had to do was like reach up. He didn't even really have to jump for it. That was bizarre. He just flat missed that one. And Julio's was, I mean, it's not the most impressive robbery you've ever seen.
No, but it was pretty
Robberies are robberies, man. Anytime you take away a home run, it's cool. But I think, honestly, the play Joe Adele didn't make must have been easier than the one Julio did make. Crazy.
Well, the M's couldn't muster any more offense after that. They end up falling 5-4 in game 1 of the series. Then Saturday, as you mentioned, Cal Raleigh continues to amaze as he hit 2 home runs to get to 26 on the season. The first was a 3-run shot in the top of the first inning.
And the pitch on the way to the Cal. There goes Julio swinging a high fly ball deep into the gap in right center field. Adele going back to the one. He tracked to the wall, leaps up, and this one is gone. Goodbye, baseball. Over the yellow line that separates the 2 levels of signs in right center field. Cal Raleigh with his 25th home run of the season, a 3-run home run, and the Mariners have a 3-0 lead.
And then he would hit his 26th in the 9th with a solo shot. He is etching his name in history with some pretty good company. They posted the earliest date to reach 25 home runs in MLB history. Some of the names on that list with him were Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Albert Pujols, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds again, and then, of course, Cal Raleigh. And most of them did it in May.
Well, and most of them did it on steroids.
True.
I mean, other than Junior, I think everyone else on that list is pretty widely believed to have been on roids.
Yes.
And did it in a much more hitter-friendly era.
For sure. And not in this ballpark. Although Bond's certainly doing it in what was then Pac-Bell. That's no joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Bonds, roids, McGwire, roids. What's the consensus on Pujols of that time?
No, he didn't. He wasn't juicing.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah, probably not. No. Probably not.
Well, I know. Or do you think otherwise?
I mean, I assume otherwise. I don't have any information. It's not like a report or anything.
Right,
but, like, my assumption is that, yes, anybody of that era who was hitting like he did and looks the way he does probably was on something. It's just an assumption. I don't have any proof. This is not like a report or an accusation. Just my assumption. I assume everybody who's done pretty well during that era has done something. But forgetting Pujols, I mean, certainly McGwire and Bonds are pretty well documented. So, yeah, for Cal to be on that list with those guys in this ballpark in this era against this kind of pitching and with everything else that hitting, catching every day, it's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, as you said, the dates range from May 24th to June 6th that they were the earliest to reach that. But with all the new obstacles that you mentioned, it's pretty impressive.
It is. Now, balancing off some of those obstacles are the fact that they start the season March 27th.
True.
They used to start at April 5th. So he's getting a little extra time.
But there's not a lot of more recent names on this.
No,
so.
But it's just funny. It's funny to use dates when in general those things are done by games.
Yeah. But Cal is just on another level. And as you said, good to get him a day off yesterday.
Yes.
And still get a win. Unfortunately, Joe Adele also had 2 homers on the day. Luis Castillo gave up those and a solo shot to Chris Taylor. And fielding errors in the third allowed the Angels to score 2 more runs. Castillo went 5 innings, giving up 8 hits, 6 runs. 4 of those were earned, with no walks and 5 strikeouts. Jackson Kowar and Trent Thornton each gave up a run in relief, and the M's lose by a final score of 8-6. They were 4-13 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day. I don't know. I mean, the Trent Thornton thing to me is kind of a mystery. I don't know what else you would need to see. Trent Thornton to me is not a leverage reliever. I don't even know whether he's like a back end of the bullpen reliever. I think that's a side conversation. It doesn't sound that important. It's not like one that you're going to have in, great energy on sports radio. But I just, when I saw that he was coming back, that to me did not was not a signal that their bullpen was getting better. If you were to watch Joe Adell against the Mariners, you would say that he's the best player in baseball, right? Joe Adell is like now what Mike Trout used to be against the Mariners. He's unbelievable against them, and I think he's terrible against everybody else. But my God, does he ever kill them? Crazy. It's funny how that happens with players.
Really weird.
Yeah. They just can't get him out.
Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, Julio also got hit in the foot that game while running the bases in the third. He got hit by an Arozarena liner. He was helped off the field.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
But Brock probably would have.
Brock's mad at Randy Arozarena for injuring Julio.
But thankfully, he was back out there Sunday, so glad that he's okay.
Good.
Sunday, George Kirby, like we mentioned, looked like himself again in the fourth game back from injury. Struck out 14 with no walks while giving up just 2 hits through 7 innings. He got to his 500th career strikeout and has only issued 68 walks in that span through 93 starts.
Kirby nods his head. He goes into the motion. Here comes the 1-2. Strike 3 called freeze him. Pumps it in. A curveball right over the heart of the plate. And for George Kirby, strikeout number 500 in his career. As Rengifo goes down looking.
OptaStats posted that the only other MLB player in the modern era, which is since 1901, to have 500-plus strikeouts and fewer than 70 walks in a span of 93 starts is Greg Maddux.
The modern era is seeming less and less modern when you say 1901. Jeez.
Well,
but yes,
still a long time.
It makes it even more impressive what Kirby did.
I mean, I think the no spring training thing is very, very real, and I hope people recognize that. And I was just looking at it. For example, Logan Gilbert had 5 starts in spring training to ramp up. Because George Kirby never had one, if you take his 3 rehab starts and then his first 2 starts that didn't go well, that's essentially 5 starts. And then if you look at his last 2, all right, he went 5-2 against Baltimore, and then he just did this against the Angels. So this is about the point where you'd be fully built up, and we're seeing fully built up George Kirby.
I think that's totally fair. Totally agree.
And I like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing not to like about what we saw yesterday. He was unbelievable.
More of that, please, George.
Yeah, no kidding.
And a Arozarena RBI double got the M's on the board in the first, and it would stay a 1-0 game until Taylor Ward hit a 2-run shot in the fourth off of Kirby.
Let's be clear, that was more than just a 2-run shot.
It was, yeah.
That sounded like a cannon went off in that stadium. Randy did not even move a muscle when that ball was hit to left field. That was a tank. Sorry.
With the M's trying to avoid a 6th straight loss, they loaded up the bases in the top of the 5th. Polanco tied it up with a single, and Donovan Solano, of all people, played hero and drove in the winning run with an RBI single that scored Mitch Garver.
Solano's been like one of their best hitters for the last couple of weeks.
I guess Ryan Wilson-Smith tried to tell us.
He did. He's actually kind of pulled out of it. I mean, give the guy credit. There's still not a lot of pop in there, but he's at least hitting the ball.
Yeah. And then Matt Brash and Munoz pitched the 8th and 9th to close the door and help the M's finish the weekend on a high note.
Brash
with
was
a 3-2 win.
Unfair yesterday. Unfair.
He's so good.
He was ridiculous. By the way, it's another kind of shaky outing for Munoz. He got it back together. It did not start well with the walk, and you're like, oh, what is going on here? He got it back together after that. But I got to tell you, I'm watching Brash yesterday. Some of the swings and check swings, they don't have a clue where the ball's. They have no idea where the ball's going to be. None. When they hit the ball, it's totally by accident or because he's made a mistake. Because those guys have no idea where the ball is going to end up.
You got Matt Brash who can punch tickets.
Sure can.
Thank you, Terosa. The Mariners are now 2.5 games behind the Astros. Houston begins a 3-game series with the White Sox tomorrow while the Mariners head to Arizona.
Do people get Matt Brash jerseys? You see any Matt Brash jerseys?
You would think there would be more at this point. I know relievers aren't always the popular jerseys to get, but because he's obviously going to be here for a while, you would think
he's not a closer, but like, I'm not a big jersey guy. I don't own any jerseys. But if I were to get a Mariner jersey, I think I'd consider a Matt Brash jersey.
Yeah.
What number does he wear? I never know what number baseball players wear.
47.
Oh, he's 47? Even more so. Pomona's number. Most popular randomly occurring number in the universe. Of course he's 47.
That was random. All right, we will talk a little NHL playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs are not disappointing so far.
No, they are not.
Game 1 went to the Oilers in OT, and Game 2 went to the Panthers, but it took double overtime to obtain that victory. It was a back-and-forth game that saw the Oilers leading 3-2 at the end of the first, the Panthers leading 4-3 at the end of the second, and Oilers winger Corey Perry scoring a goal with 18 seconds left in the third to tie it up and send it to overtime. In the second overtime, it was Panthers trade deadline acquisition Brad Marchand who scored the game winner, his second of the game.
Draisaitl out to Ekholm. It's high. It's wide. Out to the near point. Out blowing the zone is Marchand. A pass ahead. Well, no Marchand. A breakaway. Hits in Marchand. Can he tie the series? And he scores! Brad Marchand in overtime. And the Panthers win game 2. 5-4. The series is tied at a game apiece.
I thought the TNT call was a little lacking enthusiasm, so that's the Panthers radio call.
That's been kind of the case in general for the TNT broadcast, but whatever. That was a great hockey game.
It was.
I mean, a ton of penalties early was a little bit weird for a Stanley Cup final game. Marchand's 2 goals were both great. Of course, he would get the game winner. Now it sounds like he's even thinking about re-signing in Florida, and the whole idea that he was going to be a free agent. I think he's just loved it there.
As a Bruins fan, I hate that.
Oh, I'm sure you do, and I would guess that playing for Coach Paul Maurice, Brock was upset with the way I enunciated his name. I think is maybe part of that.
Yeah.
As great as those 2 goals were, the goal that Draisaitl scored because of the play that McDavid made to set it up was I don't even really know what to say about it. He comes into the high slot, makes somebody completely miss and look stupid, toe drags around a guy, avoids a stick that's lying in the middle of the slot,
His stick handling is,
and then feeds Draisaitl for the perfect one-timer it was jaw-dropping. He is the best player in the world. He really is. And to have Draisaitl right there with him is amazing. I got to tell you, that goal was as pretty as maybe any goal I can remember. I mean, you got that Nash goal from a few years ago where he, made 12 people miss. There's a couple of really exceptional ones, but this one should go on the list, and especially doing it in a Stanley Cup final in the third period, I want to say. Pretty incredible. That was just a sick goal.
These have been some pretty amazing games. So if you're still getting into hockey, which I know we have a lot of people messaging us about that, I would say Game 3's tonight. I would try to check that out because this has been a pretty awesome series. Over in the NBA Finals, because I know you would want to make sure I get to that. So
yes, please do, Maura.
The Thunder came out swinging after a Game 1 loss, going on a 19-2 run at one point in the second quarter to take an 18-point lead into the half. SGA put up 34 points, and Alex Caruso added another 20 off the bench. For the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton was the high scorer with 17 points, making the Pacers the first team since the Heat in 2013 to not have a 20-point scorer in the first 2 games of the finals.
Crazy.
Game 3 is Wednesday night.
I did watch some of that game.
Now you believe us that SGA is a real person.
It does seem like he is. Contrary to previous evidence, he does seem to be a real human.
Can you tell us what his full name is?
Shimon Gilgeous-Alexander? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
There you go.
There you go.
I got him. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I got it. Dude, don't worry about me. I watched some of the game last night. I turned it off soon because I got bored, but I thought it was better than what I've seen recently. It wasn't just guys doing step-back threes. That's what it is. I mean, that's the thing that ultimately just makes me tune out. When I just see step-back 3 after step-back 3 and just waiting to see whether they go in or not, I'm out. Watching the Thunder, I know this is sacrilege, and I get it. It's despicable that they're as good as they are, but they're actually playing real basketball. I was impressed. They were playing real basketball.
I'm happy that you checked it out.
I don't know whether I'll continue to watch, but I was impressed that they were playing real basketball.
Meanwhile, the Seattle Storm beat the Mercury Saturday with Skylar Diggins leading the way. She had 26 points, 7 assists, and 3 rebounds. Gabby Williams also had a nice day, putting up 21 points in their 89-77 win. Next up, they host the Lynx on Wednesday.
Nice. And PWHL expansion draft today.
Ooh.
Yes. So we'll get to see the rest of the we don't know the name of the team. Do you have a thought on what you...
That's weird to me that they are
I know.
adding players to the roster and they don't have a name.
They're going to have a whole roster by tomorrow, but we don't know the name of the team. My kids have strong feelings Cecily would like them to be the Seattle Sea Serpents. Similar to Kraken, kind of fits the theme. Avery's still hoping for the Seattle Spruce. But both of them seem to like the alliteration. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
Anything else from this weekend we need to know about?
That's all I have.
All right, there you go. A nice trip around the weekend from Maura. Let's see. All right. Shimon. It's not Shimon. What is it? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I'll tell you what, that dude gets to the hoop. He's got some moves. He's got a little something. I love the finish. Like, he's good. I'm surprised nobody's talked about him. It's bizarre. I feel like I just discovered this guy all of a sudden, and you guys kind of should be impressed with me for kind of being early on this one. Like, I just noticed that this guy is tearing it up here in the playoffs, and certainly in the Stanley Cup final. Impressive. Super impressive. I'm sure eventually he'll get his credit, but for now, you'll have to deal with just the fact that I discovered him. So it's pretty cool by me. Pretty cool. All right. Coming up next, the best, I saw, it's true. I have 6 things I saw this weekend that I thought were great. 6. While the Mariners were losing 2 out of 3 to the Angels, something you can't do. I got 6 things I thought were really great. And then I've got everything else. It's next on Brock and Salk.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
He's just eating right now.
Okay.
Cal Raleigh.
I like that.
How about that?
He's in the zone right now, and he's doing it from both sides of the plate, which is the most impressive thing. And he's played every single day, even on his day off.
You do think, are you going to get days off? I mean, you're hanging on to Garber to give Cal days off.
Right.
That's the one fear I have with Cal's season so far is hey, let's get this guy some time.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
Spring is back. Our bats are back. Is your postnasal drip and congestion back as well? Hi, this is Dr. Ryan Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. We are a proud National Center of Excellence for helping hundreds of patients with Rynair. For those of you sick of searching for another allergy medication, Rynair is a minimally invasive procedure that significantly reduces postnasal drip, congestion, and stuffiness after only one treatment. Come see us in Auburn or Federal Way. Book your appointment at sternsinus.com. That's sternsinus.com.
You're free now. Free to stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher-coms, space operas.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chunky chunkers.
Cats, corgis, babies on demand.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the Robo-Vacuum.
Free to open a world of remote work and Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com.
Limited availability, service in select locations only.
Need a new roof now? With State Roofing and Exteriors, you can get started with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. That's right. Protect your home now and pay later. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today.
Jet City Harley sign and ride event. No cash down needed. Rates as low as 1.49% APR on select Harleys. Save thousands on interest at Jet City Harley Davidson. On approved credit on new 2024 Lowrider ST, Lowrider S, or Road Glide 3 models. See dealer for details.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Secret Clinical Dominating Extra Stinky Stress Sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Watching Clorox cleanup spray dissolve tough grime in the shower feels like...
Wait, this really just happened? I'm shocked. Underwear and everything?
It feels like being able to zip up your overpacked suitcase on the first try.
Smooth.
With Clorox, clean feels satisfying. Clean feels good. Use as directed.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover's accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
When I wake up
The best mornings
in the morning light,
start with Wrangler.
pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started on the right foot.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Good mornings make for better days.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Wrangler, for the ride of life.
You've probably heard of speed dating, but what if there was something similar for hiring, especially if you're running a growing business? There is Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and talk to interested qualified candidates tomorrow. Simply select a time, and Zip Intro finds and schedules qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you'd like to connect with and meet and greet people through back-to-back video calls starting as soon as the next day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/USL. That's ZipRecruiter.com/USL.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Heward and Matt Marcus. Sorry about just Mike.
Heward, not exactly Joe Cap there in the pocket.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
I think we've talked about it a lot. Baseball, maybe even more than any other sport, is a game of process. And when the process is right, it eventually will yield results, but it doesn't guarantee that. And so there are times like last week where I'm watching the Mariners and I feel like the process isn't great, the results weren't great, and pretty critical, I think, last week of where the team was at. And not a surprise, I think during that time they went 2-7, they lost 5 straight. There were some real struggles last week. This weekend, they lost 2 out of 3 in Anaheim, something you really don't want to do. It's not a very good Angels team. And to go down there, coming off the heels of being swept by the Orioles and just win the final game of the series was not great. But I will say I thought some of the process was a lot better this weekend than what we've seen during a lot of this losing period. I thought they actually did some things. I got 6 things that I liked, the 6 best things I saw this weekend. And then, I'll hit on everything else at the end. But 6 things I like. Let's start here. Number 1, and this one's fairly obvious, the real George Kirby, right? Furious George. 7 innings, 14 strikeouts. More than anything, the confidence. We talked a little bit about that at 6, just the strut. Right? He looked after every pitch like he couldn't wait to get the ball back to throw the next pitch. Like he had such a plan, such confidence in what he was doing that he knew he was going to dominate those hitters. And yeah, he gives up a 2-run home run, but it didn't affect him. He was just like, yeah, made a mistake, whatever. That's the only reason they hit that. Let's go. Let's get right back to it. And that's how he strikes out 14 batters, and he doesn't walk anybody, of course, because he's George Kirby, and that's kind of what he does. So that's a huge deal, seeing him do that and knowing what that confidence can do for him to start pitching with an edge. He needs an edge. That's part of what makes him him. So I do think that's a really big deal to see George Kirby pitch the way he did yesterday, and a great sign for this rotation. Now, it's against the Angels. It's not against the best team in baseball, but it's a really good start and really, I think, important for his confidence. So that was great. Second thing, yesterday, Jorge Polanco, a multi-hit game from the right side. 4 hits and a walk on the weekend. Guys, it was just a couple of days ago that we were saying, what in the world is going on with Jorge Polanco? Why are they telling us that he's healthy, but then not allowing him to hit right-handed and not allowing him to play the field? Well, he's still not playing the field, which, quite frankly, I think is a perfectly good thing because I don't think he's a very good fielder. But he hit right-handed yesterday, and he wasn't just bunting, which we've seen from him a bunch of times. Like, oh, I got to hit right-handed to stay in the game? Yeah, I'll just try to lay down a bunt and see what happens. He ripped a couple balls right-handed. He swung hard. He hit the ball hard. And if he can start doing that as a switch hitter, and by the way, it looks like he's coming out of the depths of that slump, great. Because he was as important a contributor to their great April as anybody was. So I'll put that in the very good sign list. Third one, and this one's a little messy and it's more complicated, but Julio did have 4 hits on the weekend. That's good. Fell apart a little bit yesterday. I don't know if that's related to being struck on the ankle by a line drive that Arozarena hit. Maybe it is, maybe not. But I thought that the triple, and I thought Julio's at-bats for the most part looked good. And he had 4 hits rather. So I'm going to put Julio on that list. Maybe even bigger. I mean, not overall, but like in terms of how much you saw. How about a 6-hit weekend for Randy Arozarena? 6-hit series. Does that matter? Yes. Flat yes. They need somebody to go with Cal and kind of be that next guy. And Randy finds himself up in a lot of big spots, right? Coming up after Cal and Julio and with runners on base. He's been a phenomenal on-base presence this year, which is great. Frankly, he's almost hitting in a strange spot in the order for the type of player that he's been. But seeing Randy Arozarena come up with 6 hits, there were a couple of doubles yesterday, a triple the day before. That's a big thing. And he went the other way for one of those doubles. He pulled one of them. You got to see the full Randy Arozarena thing yesterday other than a home run. Big deal, man. Big, big, big. That's a guy you're counting on. And you knew that he's streaky. You know he goes up. You know he goes down. He's been down for a month. If that is indeed the beginning of a rise for Randy, it matters a lot to what this team is capable of. So there's 4. The real Kirby, Polanco from the right side, Julio with a 4-hit series, and then Randy with 6. I'll give you 2 more because I'm just feeling generous this morning. It's a Monday morning, and it's beautiful out. It's going to be 85 degrees again today. They won a game without Cal Raleigh. I think that matters for 2 reasons. One, it allowed Cal a full day off, so he's not going to play 162. And 2, hopefully it showed Dan and the rest of the team that they can win a game without Cal Raleigh, that you can give him more days off. That doesn't have to be the only one. And you got to pick your spots. And maybe there'll be more, George Kirby starts where they want to keep Garver with. I don't know how they want to do it. But I think it's a really important thing. Not just that they got him the day off, but they actually won the game. And you give him a rest, allow him to come back out. Does it mess up his timing? I don't think so. That dude's just been so locked in. Who the heck knows? Maybe it does. But I think it's been a really, really big deal to get him a day off and hopefully show the manager, the team, everybody that that's something you can do and you can be okay. You can find a way even without Cal for a game now and again to allow him to just get off his feet. So I thought that was a really nice thing. That's 5. And then the 6th, we talked about this last week. What happened to the stolen bases? They returned this weekend, 7 of them in the series. 7 stolen bases in the series. Big. Pressuring your opponent, right? That's part of what made this team in April. Yeah, it's the home run and the walks. Those are always going to be at the center point of this offense. But part of what you were trying to do was to get an aggressive team to put pressure on the opponents, to be hard to play against, to put the game in motion. And Lyle and I are pretty well in lockstep on this. If you mean putting the game in motion as a series of sacrifice bunts and hitting behind the runner, that just doesn't do it for me. I'm not going to jump up and down about a sacrifice, ground out now and again. But if you're telling me it means stealing bases and taking extra bases whenever available, which is exactly what they did this weekend, I am all in, 100%. And I assume you are too, Lyle. You love the steals. You got to love 7 extra bases, stolen bases, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's great. That's taking advantage of your roster. And it's why I mentioned last week that I do think they've missed Luke Raley a little bit more than maybe we've given credit for. I'll repeat it again. And I know some of the responses, what do you mean, Salk? He wasn't having a good year. Well, he wasn't having a good month. That doesn't mean he was like done for the year. They've missed some of what Luke Raley provides them, which is an ability to get on base and then run. Oh, and by the way, he's got a little pop in there as well. So I think all of those were really good things from this weekend. There's more. I mean, look, I think you got to see a couple hits from Cole Young, a couple hits from Ben Williamson, who's really hit the ball well and even drove the ball to right center with a little bit of authority yesterday. So there were some nice signs. So there were a lot of things to like, even in a lousy weekend of losing 2 out of 3. If those were the best things I saw this weekend, the worst things were everything else. Unfortunately. Right? Bryce, Luis, Trent Thornton, the bullpen. There were some things really not to like. The defense on Saturday, not great. So there were definitely some things not to like. But some of the frustration that's kind of been there here over the last few weeks with this team, understandably, myself included. I mean, I've been watching them like pretty disgusted at times. I think I saw. Who's been the most frustrating player on the team this year? Donovan Solano, right? Can we agree? Yes, we'll all agree on that.
I think the text line is pretty evident that that's what the fans think.
Yeah, it's Donovan Solano. He's hitting the ball better. Look over the last couple weeks, starting to hit. He's starting to hit. His at-bats look better, and then he started hitting after the at-bats started getting better. Julio's at-bats were better. Randy's at-bats were better. Cal's at-bats are, insane. Yeah, I didn't even include Cal with a couple more home runs on the weekend and just being a one-man wrecking crew. But I love that they were able to get him the day off, and you won a game without him. You're not going to win every game without him, but you got to give him breaks. It's a long season, 162 games, so I love that. I don't know what's going to happen with Bryce Miller. I don't know what's going to happen in this bullpen. I don't think Trent Thornton is it. Colin Snyder's hurt. He wasn't it. Like, I do think, Lyle, you're right. They're going to need more in the bullpen if they want to be successful long term. But, yeah, you kind of put all those things together. And I was more encouraged this weekend, even in losing 2 out of 3, than I've been watching this team for the last 2 or 3 weeks. That was, to me, a better version of the Mariners. Running, little bit of power, some of the guys that you need to start hitting, George Kirby in the starting pitching. You got Brash and Munoz in there yesterday. Those are the types of games I expect them to win. I don't know whether they'll sustain it or not because we've gotten this incredible split personality team throughout the year. There doesn't seem to be any in between. We either get the good Mariners or the bad Mariners, and you just don't know day to day which one's going to show up. But the one you got this weekend, I thought was a lot more good than bad, and I haven't said that for a while. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. I got some Seahawks stuff to talk about at 7:30. There is a very, very big name that became available today. Should the Seahawks go after him? That'll be a need to know next on Brock and Salk.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
You know, when Cal comes into work, I mean, he's a catcher. He's looking at game plans and how to get guys. So I know there's been a lot of talk about the heavy workload, but I mean, he's built for that. Some guys are just built to last.
Dan, he knows what it takes to be a catcher. He knows that life. He knows the grind and the pain in the knees and the lower back.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Do you find yourself, maybe I don't know where your insurance is and when it updates and when your annuals are, but man, if you're coming up to that, or you're just looking at it and you're just frustrated every single month as your rates and your premiums have gone up, you don't know what is covered, what's not covered, then you need to do what Molly and I did. Take the First Mark Insurance Challenge. We heard so many of these victories through the years. We needed to do the same. Just take the challenge. It's totally free. And boy, am I glad we did. That was years ago. And it has not only saved us significantly, it also gives us a very clear understanding of what we've got covered and what we don't. Here's how they work for you. They will fully analyze your current coverage, making sure you're not overpaying for the wrong coverage. Then, unlike you and me, they go to the market. Dozens of major carriers they've worked with for years to find you and your situation the best fit. That's it. No stress, no confusion. They're your teammate. And they spent the last 3 decades helping thousands of families successfully manage this world of insurance. So don't wait a morning longer. Take the First Mark Challenge. As I said, it's totally free, and you might be that next First Mark Challenge victory. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. Firstmarkinsurance.com. Your teammate that goes to work for you.
Cracked windshields happen, and if your car has a forward-facing camera, it needs to be recalibrated. All-Star Auto Glass is the professional choice for windshield replacement, repair, and recalibration. Call All-Star Auto Glass today.
Synthetic Turf Northwest is now open in Fife, the South Sound headquarters for premium synthetic turf. They help homeowners with a turnkey solution, DIYers, and contractors and landscapers needing quality products. With premium turf in stock, expert advice, and pro installation services, everything you need is under one roof. Visit their new showroom off I-5 in Fife. Synthetic Turf Northwest. Supplies and installation expertise all in one place. Mention radio for up to $1,000 off. SyntheticTurfNorthwest.com.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
Stop bugging me pest control. This summer, don't let stinging insects ruin your outdoor fun. Wasps, hornets, get rid of those stinging pests. Call Stop Bugging Me Pest Control and leave everything to us.
The Mariners are transforming T-Mobile Park into Seattle's hottest karaoke club for Sing-Along Fireworks Night. Don't miss an incredible post-game show this Friday presented by T-Mobile after the team squares off against the Guardians at 7:10.
He does it again! Home runs in 3 consecutive games. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper.
It's your chance to belt your heart out on the big stage to chart-topping hits and feel-good throwbacks. Fireworks and Mariners baseball. That's 2 spectacular shows in one unforgettable night.
Strike 3 call! Triple digits to end it and complete the sweep.
Visit mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets and see the complete lineup of Mariners fireworks nights this summer, including a patriotic palooza on July 3rd and an 80s show on July 18th. Plus, check out everything else on deck at T-Mobile Park, including a Father's Day socks giveaway this Sunday thanks to Muckleshoot Casino Resorts. Mariners baseball. Trident's up. The home of the Mariners.
One hopper snared at short. Not a quick hop by J.P. Crawford. That guy's a magician over there at shortstop.
Seattle Sports.
Download the Seattle Sports app.
June is Men's Health Month, and we want to place a special emphasis on prostate cancer awareness and treatment. It's important for men to communicate about issues relating to their health, especially family health history. Prostate cancer has been in the news, and right now I'm joined by Dr. Landis from the Swedish Cancer Institute. Dr. Landis, how common is prostate cancer?
Prostate cancer is very common. About 1 in 8 men will develop prostate cancer here in the U.S. That ends up being about 300,000 cases per year.
How can men test for prostate cancer?
Well, first thing, patients should ask to have PSA screening from their primary care doc. Anyone 50 or over, and if you have a family history starting at 45 is pretty typical.
If diagnosed, why should patients seek out Swedish CyberKnife for treatment?
What we hear from patients all the time is that treatment really was amazing. They didn't have to take time off of work. The side effects are really minimal, and there was minimal interruption in their lives.
Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife. Go to swedish.org/CyberKnife prostate.
When the heat's in 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
because that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave. Keep your house cool and save.
Dayandnight.net.
Save up to $6,000 on qualifying cooling equipment. Plus, no payments or interest for a year OAC. Don't sweat it out this summer. Stay cool with Day and Night.
Dayandnight.net.
need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. First.
Well, it had been a rough patch for the Mariners. They had lost 5 straight, and they needed something yesterday. They got it from George Kirby. A tremendous 7 innings, only gives up a pair of runs, a career-high 14 strikeouts.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Into the motion. Here's his pitch. Strike 3 called, freeze him. 97 right over the edge. Career high, 13 strikeouts for George Kirby, and he sends down Mike Trout to do it.
Yeah, that one was good. That was his 13th. That phrase from Gary you heard a lot, I think, during the game. Right on the edge, 97. There was a lot of that. And essentially unhittable when he's like that. It was awesome. Totally dealing throughout the day. His manager, obviously, very excited.
I mean, what else can you say? I mean, he is a strike thrower. He throws a lot of strikes, but I thought that the quality of the strikes today was what was the difference. And just attacking, getting a lot of, bad swings on their part just because they just weren't seeing the ball well because had such good stuff. And, when he can throw his fastballs and then mix in his secondaries, he's a tough customer, and today he had everything going.
Part of me would like to see George Kirby have a start where he just doesn't throw anything but fastballs. I wonder what it would look like. I think it'd be fine. And we saw Castillo essentially do that for a game against the White Sox, and I think Kirby could absolutely get away with it. The movement he had, and the command yesterday when he's like that. Tremendous, just tremendous. Not a huge day offensively, but Randy Arozarena with 3 hits, including a couple of doubles. Jorge Polanco looked good from the right side, especially. And then Brasha Munoz just totally shutting it down in the 8th and 9th. That was great. Team gets back to 33 and 31. You lose that game yesterday, you're at 500. So, yeah, that was nice. Houston loses, so they do crawl back to within 2.5 in the division. Off to Arizona for 3 starting tonight. Emerson Hancock and Merrill Kelly in the opener. The D-backs are just swept by the Reds. They have been kind of all over the map this year. And a couple of things, no one knows exactly what these mean. It sounds like Dominic Canzone canceled the signing of this for today with some thought that he might be getting called up to the big leagues. I don't know who that would be for. I wondered earlier if maybe it was taxi squad in case Julio had to go in the DL, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So I don't know what's going on there. And then Logan Evans scratched as well. Don't know if that's injury related or more likely that, maybe he's being called up. Makes you wonder about Bryce Miller, who once again gives up 5 and just did not pitch very well. And you wonder about his health. He's supposed to make the start on Wednesday.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
We've been talking about whether or not the Seahawks need another player on defense. Personally, I'd like to see them get a guy on the edge, but that's not what just became available. Instead, it's a corner. Jaire Alexander was cut today by the Packers. Is he a fit? Yeah, of course he's a fit, but he's a fit essentially everywhere, according to Chris Canty.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody needs a corner.
So that's everyone. So everyone's now in on this.
Jaire Alexander, everybody can use a guy like that. Absolutely. I think the biggest issue was his salary. Everybody can use a guy like that.
It's not just his salary. It's the number of games he's played last couple of years, just 7 apiece. So I think there's a little conversation in there as well. Do I like Jaire Alexander? Yeah, he's a really good player. Would he help the Seahawks? Yes. Is it the number one position of need? No. For me, if I had an opportunity to add a player of that caliber, I would still like it to be on the edge. I'd rather trade for Trey Hendrickson and sign him than I would trade, signing Jaire Alexander. That's me. I'd like to see that. I just think that position matters more. That being said, what am I going to be mad if they determine that this is the right fit? No, of course not. He's a really good player, and he would absolutely help their team. Minicamp starts tomorrow. First mandatory event of the offseason for the team. And they'll only have 3 practices here this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then that's it for the veterans anyway, in all likelihood before training camp later next month.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
NBA, NHL finals both 1-1. The NHL have been great. Game 1, overtime win for the Oilers. Game 2, overtime win, double overtime win for the Panthers. Brad Marchand getting it done. The back and forth nature of it has just been awesome. The Oilers are so talented. Florida's so physical. Greg Wyshynski talking about the, styles make fights matchup there.
So if they come out of this with a 2-0 lead coming to Florida, I mean, they might win the series. I mean, like they are extremely confident.
This is probably the first time in the playoffs that a little bit of doubt has been put in their minds. The first time that someone's really pushed back on them in a pretty significant way. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Florida was able to even the series, I think, puts them right back into it. And more importantly, gives them home ice with the chance to never have to win a game in Edmonton again. If they just win all 3 games in Florida, then they're the Stanley Cup champions again.
Yeah, all that true. That game will be tonight. Game 3. Meanwhile, the NBA Finals also back to 1-1, and I think maybe a little bit more of what everybody expected last night, as the Thunder just really blew the doors off of Indiana.
Final seconds are going to tick off, and the Oklahoma City Thunder again bounce back after a loss in the postseason. A must-win for OKC. They've evened the NBA Finals at 1, and we're on to Indianapolis for Game 3 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, bummer, obviously, for anybody rooting against the Thunder. They did look really, really good. But maybe this helps. It sounds like NBA expansion is getting a lot closer to reality. League meetings taking place next month. Adam Silver expecting it to be a big topic. He says, quote, "It will be on the agenda to take the temperature of the room. We have committees that are already talking about it, but my sense is at that meeting, they're going to give direction to me and my colleagues at the league office that we should continue to explore. I'd say the current sense is we should be exploring it. I don't think it's automatic." So the last part is still giving himself a little bit of an out, but by all accounts, it does seem like the NBA is going to be continuing down that road. And if and when an announcement gets made, I would expect it to be Seattle and Vegas that are the 2 cities chosen. That is everything you need to know. And of course, we do that 1:15 every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. Brock's out today. He'll be back tomorrow. He had a wedding, family engagement thing, not his own wedding, but not his family's wedding, but he was at a wedding yesterday. So he's traveling around. He'll be back with us tomorrow and in the rest of the week. So Bump's going to help us out with a little Blue 88 here in 20 minutes. So we'll talk to Michael Bumpus of the world-renowned Bump and Stacy show. And then at 8 o'clock, our friend Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated is going to come in studio for a couple of hours, and we'll just kind of talk. I mean, like, the cool thing about Greg is you just throw open essentially any question to him, and he's off and running. You're just like, hey, so what are you working on? And like 2 hours later, you're done. Like, it's awesome. So I'm looking forward to having him in. We will talk some Cal and Mariners, and we'll talk some Seahawks and everything else. But just kind of looking forward to having him in to tell some stories. All right. Do you want Jaire Alexander? And 2 other pro football focused notes that stood out to me. One very good, one very not good. That's next on Brock and Salk.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
When Cal comes into work, he's a catcher. He's looking at game plans and how to get guys. So I know there's been a lot of talk about the heavy workload, but he's built for that. Some guys are just built to last.
Dan, he knows what it takes to be a catcher. He knows that life. He knows the grind and the pain in the knees and the lower back.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
All right, Mike Salk here. How hot was it in your house yesterday as temperatures got into the mid-80s? Supposed to get there again today. In this part of the world, it's pretty common for homes to have damaged insulation or maybe even none at all in the crawl space or attic. Now, wintertime, that makes your home cold and drafty. You probably know that. But in the summer months, yeah, that can turn your house into an oven. And utility companies will help. They have special incentives to help with the cost of having your home properly insulated, including a once-in-a-lifetime rebate from Puget Sound Energy. So if you're a PSE customer, your home was built before 1990, you could qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of the cost to get your crawl space and attic properly insulated. Yeah, 95% of the cost. That's awesome. Don't wait. Call Crawl Pros now. Learn what's going on behind that crawl space or attic hatch for free, and learn what energy rebates you're eligible for. The best way to get this done is to go to crawlpros.com and schedule a free inspection. That's crawlpros.com.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com. This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
For over 113 years, Pacific Lamp and Supply Company has been your #1 lighting specialist in Washington, from the Space Needle in Seattle all the way to the Riverwalk in Spokane. With the largest lighting inventory in Washington, Pacific Lamp's knowledgeable and experienced staff can assist with any lighting issue, including intricate lighting and control designs. Plus, they work with all utilities in Washington to get you the best available lighting rebates. Pacific Lamp and Supply Company, Washington's lighting experts since 1912. Visit pacificlamp.com.
Get 0% financing for 72 months on Cat compact construction equipment at NC Machinery. Built for performance, durability, and comfort. Buy now and take advantage of 0% financing for 72 months at NC Machinery.
Hey 12, Steve Rabel here, voice of your Seattle Seahawks. The wait is over, and tickets are on sale now for our historic 50th season. This season is going to be legendary, with past, present, and future colliding at Lumen Field. Get your tickets today at Seahawks.com/tickets.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims like Sean, who was rear-ended in a car accident.
They're just easy to work with. They're fast. I like the fact that he had military service. I can see a lot of Marine in Rob. He's very in charge, really gets things done. But I didn't have to do anything. He offered me a settlement, had a number in my head, was nearly double that. I would refer absolutely anybody to Rob.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
Pennies! Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Obviously, it's a growing sport, but also this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We are the most competitive people, so regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl.
Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
Summertime is Pacific Power Batteries time. Okay, maybe that's a stretch. But we do sell more batteries in the spring and summer because you folks are all out there doing stuff. Golf carting and boating and buzzing around on stuff that needs batteries. But when's a good time? How about tomorrow? We're open 7 days a week to test any battery and let you know the honest answer. Summertime and the cranking is easy. Happy trails from Pacific Power Batteries.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
This hour of the Brock and Salk Show is powered by Star Rentals, preferred supplier to the West's best contractors.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You want Jaire Alexander? He's available. He's ready for you. You want him? Go get him. If you want him, all you got to do is go sign him. I mean, you and 29 other teams probably would have interest, but the Seahawks have all kinds of cap space. If they want Jaire Alexander, they can do it. I will look at his numbers for you because I'm just that kind of a guy. And don't worry more. I brought in my new pair of glasses after I stepped on the last pair on Friday. So I made a special point to make sure I went and Got a different pair from my stock of Costco readers, and I've got very small print here for you. Jaire Alexander is 28 years old this year. He's been in the league since 2018, came in at 21, so a young player when he first got here. Spent his whole career in Green Bay, playing mostly left cornerback, but he's been a corner his whole career. In those years, these are the number of games he's played each year. I think this, to me, is the most important stat on him. As a rookie, 13, started 11. The next year, and he started every game he's ever played since. 16 in his second year, full season. 15 in 2020, most of a season. 2021, 4. Back to 16 and 22, but then 7 each of the last 2 years. So in 3 of his 7 years, he's missed more than half the season. In 3 of his 7 years, he's missed more than half the season. That's something to think about. In terms of interceptions, he has 1 year with 5. Other than that, you're looking at 1 or 2 a year. In fact, in his career, he has a total of 12 picks in 7 years. Now, I'm sure some of that is because he doesn't get thrown at all the time. He's a really good player. But I'll point to that one as well. He's been a Pro Bowler twice. In 2020 and in 2022, 2 years where he played most of the season, 15 in 1 year, 16 in the other.
I think in 2022, he made the top 100 list, and he was number 26.
Yeah, I mean, like, when he's good, he's really good. He was a first-round pick, I think somewhere in the 20s, number 21, something like that. And he wants to get paid. I mean, he's been in the league 7 years, and now he's going to be 28, and this is the time for him to get paid. I get it. Would I want him on my team? Yes, of course. Who doesn't want a really good player on their team? Yes, if they sign Jaire Alexander, I'll be happy. I'll be excited. The idea of him on one side with Woolen on the other and Spoon, I mean, like, you're putting together at that point a phenomenal type of secondary, especially when I give you this piece of information in a minute. Is it where I would want them to go next and where I would want them to spend all of the cash they have? No, it wouldn't be my priority. So I personally would rather have them, and again, maybe I'm just kind of caught up in the Trey Hendrickson thing, but if you're saying these are 2 players, veteran players with a lot of talent, big-time impact guys, where would I rather see them make an investment? I'd rather see them be great on the defensive line, specifically on the edge, than I would a corner. Corner's great, don't get me wrong. I love to have good corners. I don't know that I'm that interested in paying all that money for it. I would rather see if I could upgrade the edge and get into the backfield all the time. And Trey Hendrickson.
Well, that's where I'm wondering if he's going to find out on the market that he's not worth as much as he thinks because of all those injuries.
Yeah, because
I'd take him at a discount. Trey Hendrickson, you're not going to get a discount on.
No, but you're getting, I just want great players. And yeah, I think you're right. If you're Jaire Alexander, you hit the open market after nobody traded for you. And it's like, well, we could sign you, or we could wait a few weeks and sign Jalen Ramsey when he becomes available.
I know you want a big deal, but have you proven the last couple of years that you deserve that?
We could talk to, are you that much better, and are you going to play that much more than Shaquille Griffin or Rasul Douglas or any of the other guys that are out there? Is he better than all of them? Yeah, probably yes, other than maybe Jalen Ramsey. But if you can't get out and play every day, again, 7 games each of the last 2 seasons, and in his career, he only has 4 seasons where he's played more than half the games out of 7 years. Availability is going to be one of the more important abilities. And if you can't depend on him to be out there every game, how much money do you want to go spend on him? I would rather spend more and give up more, but get more in Trey Hendrickson. I want to think big. So I would probably pass, depending on what the money is. Now, again, if everybody in the league is also passing, and then you get him at an extreme discount, yeah, all right, fine, I'd have that conversation. I'm not saying I hate the idea, but it's just not where I would prioritize my resources.
Do you think cornerback is a bigger position of need? Like with Hendrickson, you're looking to build on an area of strength and make it stronger.
I do, but I don't think you need to fill it with this.
Yeah.
Like I think you can fill it with the Rasul Douglas, Shaquille Griffin, or something else. Like I think there are other ways to get that done. I don't think you need to go with the biggest name out there at corner.
Yeah, and Hawk Blogger makes a good point here, Brian Nemhauser. He tweeted this morning. He said, before everyone gets too excited, there's substantial issues with any player who's this talented but can't generate any trade interest and is flat out released by his team.
Totally agree.
Well, it wasn't just the injuries either. I think he had a little bit of an attitude problem.
Perfect for a team that right now seems to be finally focused on not having that and kind of, pushing together as one. So again, this is not the thing that I would want them to do, but if they do it, he's a good player. I love this. Typical Salk, claiming he won't complain all the while. All he does is passive aggressive complaining.
Is that Jared?
That's just somebody in the 206. Again, I understand what you're saying. I don't see this as complaining. If you were to get him, cool. It's not what I would do. I don't really know how else to say that. If that sounds like I'm complaining, then I apologize. I'm really not. I don't think of it that way. I'm trying to give you guys a sense as to how I feel and what I think would be helpful to the team. It would be helpful. It wouldn't be as helpful as some other things that I think you could do better.
I think in this conversation, you kind of need to look at Reek Woolen. I sent you an article over the weekend where he was listed among 7 enigmas in the NFL by Bucky Brooks.
Fair.
The guys where you just don't know what you're going to get. Is that the reason why they do need to add a cornerback, whether it's Jaire Alexander or not? That you don't know exactly what you're going to get there.
Is it that, or is that Josh Jobe is your other starting cornerback today? I mean,
I think you need some depth no matter what, but I think there is also some uncertainty as to what Reek Woolen is going to bring, because you really could use someone that could match Witherspoon the way we thought Woolen was going to early on in his career.
I think the reality is that Tariq Woolen just doesn't really fit long-term what Mike McDonald wants. That's my gut. I mean, he can say that he fits and that he loves him, this and that, and that's what he should say. He's the coach. I don't think he's a perfect fit for Mike's system. I think he wants somebody who's going to tackle. He wants somebody who's going to set an edge. He wants somebody who's going to help in a different way at corner. That doesn't make him a bad player. In fact, I think he's a very good one. But I don't know that he's a great long-term fit. Throw in, whatever big meal KJ thought he'd eaten after year one. And I don't get the sense they're going to sign him to a long-term deal. That doesn't mean you can't go another year with him. But I don't get the sense they're going to sign him.
Because I just feel like how you feel about him determines whether you just want a depth guy or whether you want a Jalen Ramsey.
I think that they can for now get away with a depth guy, and then you figure it out, right? Down the road, maybe next year that's one of a spot that you are going to draft in the second or third round. It didn't work out for them that way this year, but maybe next year it does. There's always going to be another player coming around. Yes, I think it's related to Reek Woolen, but not entirely, because I think the Josh Jobe thing kind of stands out. Also, he's an okay player, good depth player, stepped up for you last year, but is he a starting corner on a top 5 defense?
If someone gets hurt, yeah.
Right, exactly. I think that's kind of what you would like to say about him. This one surprised me. I guess I'll ask Bump about this in 5 minutes. Do we watch Ernest Jones differently than everyone else does? So Pro Football Focus ranks Ernest Jones as the 30th linebacker in the NFL.
I don't get it either.
Now, when they say linebacker, Maura, tell me, please. When they say linebacker, do they just mean off-ball linebackers? They don't mean edge and outside linebackers. Because if he's 32 and you're including everybody who plays on the edge at linebacker, at outside linebacker, okay, I guess I could understand that if you're including guys that play on the edge. If you're just talking about off-ball linebackers, you're telling me that he's one of the worst starting linebackers, middle linebackers in football? That would be very surprising to me and not at all what I feel like I watched last year. Here's what they wrote. In 2024, Jones was traded twice in a 3-month span, from the Rams to the Titans before the season, again in October to the Seahawks. The constant movement understandably made it difficult for him to get acclimated to a system, resulting in his lowest Pro Football Focus overall grade as a pro. Now, with an extension in hand, Jones has some security in Seattle where he can hopefully return to his 23 level of play. That season, he earned an 80-plus Pro Football Focus grade as a run defender and pass rusher. I guess maybe that's true. Hey, I hope they're right. I hope that was an off year for him and that he's actually even better than he showed last year. But what I saw last year, I thought was pretty good. Did we all watch the same guy? I liked a lot of what I saw last year from Ernest Jones.
Yeah, this shocked me.
30th out of 32.
Tyrell Dotson is ranked 29th.
Yeah, I watched both guys play last year. It's not even close. Sorry. I watched both guys play. There's no way Tyrell Dawson. I mean, again, some of it is fit with the system you're in, but I watch like with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm buying that.
They dinged him for getting traded twice.
Well, good. I mean, again, fine. I hope they did. I hope it motivates him, and I hope he is even better than he was this year. If that's true, great. This defense is going to be even better. But that one definitely surprised me. But again, like this sort of speaks to what the league is seeing when it looks at the Seahawks. They're not that impressed. They're not that impressed with this team. One other one from Pro Football Focus before we talk to Bump here in just 2 minutes. But they also had their most underrated player on every team. Do you have a sense as to who their most underrated player would be? When you hear it, I think you'll agree.
Saw it, but I would agree with.
Is this the player you would have picked?
I think so.
I'm trying to think if I hadn't read it, who did I think it was going to be? I mean, Josh Jobe probably underrated because nobody even knows who he is. But again, you're probably looking to upgrade there. I mean, I think Leonard Williams is still underrated considering how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
Jaron Reed's probably underrated.
Considering Leonard Williams didn't make the Pro Bowl last year.
Right.
He should have.
I think you would say that quite frankly, I guess Ernest Jones is underrated if you think he's the 30th linebacker out of 32. But they went with Julian Love, and it's hard to argue with it. Love, it says, came through with a career year in 24 as a seemingly perfect fit in Mike McDonald's defense, which led to a more complete showing. Finished 6th at the position in overall grade and was one of only 2 safeties, along with Kyle Hamilton, to rank in the top 10 in run defense grade and coverage grade this past season. Really steady player.
And he just seems to make clutch plays when you need them.
He does seem like one of those guys who just comes up with stuff. And I think he got better last year once Kobe Bryant was inserted more into the starting lineup at safety, and it allowed him to kind of, play his position rather than covering for everyone else.
Kobe Bryant's another guy who's seemed to find his way to be around the ball too. So
always has.
I like those two out there together.
Yeah, Kobe's definitely. It's funny. He's not like one of those players where, like, you're going to spend a lot of time thinking and talking about him. And I do think that everyone's always like, hey, look, if there's a way to upgrade from Kobe Bryant, you're probably going to do that. And as a nickel, he seemed to kind of find his way off the field as opposed to on it. But I will say, and I think you just hit the nail on the head, Maura, every time he's in there, he just seems to find ways to be around the ball, to knock one free, to come up with a big pick, to, force a fumble, whatever the case may be. I'm always impressed at Kobe Bryant's ability to be around the ball. So that's just kind of a look, I guess, at the Seahawks secondary. We haven't spent a ton of time talking about that. It has seemed like there are other, directions that are maybe, for me anyway, a little bit more of a priority. But nice to hear. Julian Love, yeah, I agree with that. Probably the most underrated Seahawk. Ernest Jones at 30, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I don't. I mean, I don't know that I could give you like my list, but it's hard for me to see that there were 29 better middle linebackers last year than Ernest Jones. So kind of run through all of it. And again, like that's kind of what you're looking for is the Seahawks get back to practice tomorrow. They'll have 3 practices tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. And then really that's it until training camp in mid to late July when they come back and kind of be all systems go at that point. Yeah, is there room for one more player? Is there room for one more guy who could be a difference maker for them? I would sure love them to be. I would sure love for there to be one. I mean, I'll keep saying Trey Hendrickson's name because I think he's a game changer, because I think he changes the way this defense functions. Because it's 17.5 sacks each of the last 2 years. Because it's getting in the backfield. It's bothering quarterbacks. It's setting an edge. Not that he's a great run defender, but you've got other guys that do that around him. And that's not what he was asked to do, by the way, the last couple of years. I think he was a better run defender when he was in New Orleans, and he was asked to do more of that. Last few years, it was just pin your ears back and go. Well, having that talent, again, Seahawks have some good players on the edge. I don't know that they've got anybody of that level of talent who can get into the backfield the way he does. So, all right, are we ready? Do we have Bump? We're looking for Michael Bumpus. We're
having some phone issues. I'm gonna try to have him call us. Give me a second.
He's gonna call us. I'm gonna stall for a moment or two before he does. I will tell you that we're about 15 minutes away from Greg Bishop coming in. which should be great. Sports Illustrated, cover stories, the whole deal. You know, everything that Bishop does. And whenever he does, he's just awesome. Just comes in, just tells us great stories. And we'll do that coming up here in about 15 minutes. 253 says nobody's bringing up Von Miller. Yeah, again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. On the edge, yes, I would love to see them go after somebody great. I don't think you need somebody okay. And at this stage of his career, I don't know that Von Miller is a significant upgrade over what you got. You got pretty good guys on the edge. The Hendrickson thing is about getting somebody great. And if it was Von Miller 5 years ago, that's what you'd be getting. Now, not so much. Let's do some Blue 88.
This is Brock and Salk's Blue 88.
Blue 88! Blue 88!
We take you to the field as Brock Ewart breaks down 3 football questions as only he can.
Now here's your hosts, Brock Ewart and Mike Salk.
Well, and today it's Michael Bumpus filling in for Brock. Good morning, Bump.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. I got three questions for you. We'll start with this one. Jaire Alexander released this morning. Do you want him?
It's an interesting one, right? Because you're looking at what the great teams do, and they acquire talent. You look at the way Philadelphia acquire talent. The Rams do it all the time. The Niners get into the mix as well. And I think you should take a real good look at it. The only knock on him, that, as you probably know and mentioned, is that he just can't stay healthy, right? He's got his last 2 seasons, he was healthy. He was an all-pro guy. He was a Pro Bowl type of guy. He has, 12 interceptions throughout his career. And I can imagine him on the other side of Reek and allowing Witherspoon just to focus on that slot. Then you mix in Nick. Can he stay healthy? The good thing about this roster right now is I know no one's really excited about Josh Joe, but at least we've seen that he can play, right? So if you were to get an Alexander and you were to get banged up, you have a guy who can take his shoes. The other thing is it's got to be a team-friendly contract. Whoever is negotiating with Alexander, they're going to use his past, his history, his injury history to their advantage. I will look at him. You sign a 1-2-year deal, an approve-it type of deal, something similar to Sam Darnold. I think you take a look at him because it's about acquiring talent, and we know what Mike McDonald can do with talent. We saw what he did with Baltimore. So I'm kicking the tires, but I'm not doing anything crazy.
All right, question number 2. One thing that came up with some of the conversation last week about the quarterback and Sam Darnold, et cetera, in practice is, hey, there might not have been many people open, right? Like he was struggling a little bit to find open receivers, and maybe some of that is because the defensive backs are pretty good or because the receivers aren't doing enough to get open. Do they need another weapon outside, or are they good enough for this year?
The practice I went to not Monday, but I went to a Tuesday and Thursday's practice. And MVS stood out to me, he looked good. JSN stood out to me, he looked good. I think the more these tight ends get acclimated, I think the wider the space is going to be when it comes to the combination of these receivers getting open. I think that's what it comes down to. Can you always add another guy for sure? What really is out there and what are you willing to pay for? I think with this offense, it's all about timing and chemistry, right? Can you layer the defense up with your route combinations properly and have the right space out there? So I'm not overreacting. I think that if there is a receiver out there who you think can help this team, you go ahead and do it. But I'm not stressing about the talent situation. I think your top 3 are good to go. Mm-hmm. I think that you got some young guys in Horton and White who are gonna compete. And don't forget about Derek Young. He's made some plays too. So I'm always for getting talent. Don't get me wrong, right? If you can get better, you get better there. But I think that you won't really see what this offense is really about until you really get to training camp and they're allowed to influence the defense with the real run and play action boot and all that good stuff.
All right, question number 3. I was just talking about this. I was reading the Pro Football Focus linebacker rankings. They got Ernest Jones ranked as the number 30 linebacker in the NFL last year, just behind Dodson, who was here and who he replaced. Am I missing something, or is Ernest Jones not as good as I think he is?
That was funny to me, too, especially where they put him right behind Dodson. It's almost like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
It felt personal, kind of. It felt personal. But, no, listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched film on all of these linebackers, right? But I did go through the list. I have watched film on some of them, and I can pick 2 or 3 right now that I know for sure he is better than. Yeah, it is disrespectful. He goes from the Rams to the Titans. The Rams to the Titans to the Seahawks, and he picked up the playbook. You know, you can tell like his first week or so, he was kind of hesitant and trying to figure the things out. But when he was good, he was good. If there's a knock on him, maybe he's not as good in coverage as some of these backers. But to think that he's that high on that list, it's kind of ridiculous to me. But they have their own formula on how they're doing things. I doubt they're sitting there and watching film and really breaking it down that way. They're using a bunch of data points. You know, they're on their baseball stuff right now. You know what I'm saying? Look at all the data and saying, okay, this is where we're going to slot him instead of just watching the film. Disrespectful, Ernest, use it to your advantage.
All right, there you go. That is today's Blue 88. Where are you on? I keep talking about Trey Hendrickson because I just would love to see them be elite somewhere. I don't think they have a need at defensive end or edge. Like, I think they have a pretty good 4 starting players there, but I don't know that any of them are elite. And if Trey Hendrickson's available, I would pull the trigger. Where are you on that?
If he's available, it's almost like the 2 questions that I just answered for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The acquisition of talent. You get as much talent as possible, especially on defense where you're not really starving for talent, but you feel like if you were to get a guy like him, it might take you to the next level. The thing that concerns me is just the books, man. You just got to make sure the money's right. You got to make sure that you're protected and that you're allowed to make moves if, you know, we do get to a point during this offseason where you're looking at the offense and Kubiak say, look, I need 1 or 2 more pieces. Yeah, I'm with looking at them for sure. I just always want to make sure that if you got to do something on offense, you're able to do it.
All right, well, let me give you a choice. You can go after one of these 3 players right now. Trey Hendrickson in a trade where you got to give up, let's say, a 2nd and a 5th round pick. Jalen Ramsey in a trade where you probably have to give up a little less than that. Or Jaire Alexander.
I'm going to go with Alexander because I feel like you have more leverage there. He was released. He's got an injury history. He'll be able to negotiate. You know Jalen Ramsey's agent is not budging. You know Hendrickson's going to get exactly what he deserves. So the easier acquisition, the smoother one would have to be Alexander, and I think you go for that.
Love it. Bump, thank you. Appreciate it. Of course, Bump and Stacy, 10 o'clock today as always, and we'll see you then. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Take care.
There you go. The great Michael Bumpus. I disagree, by the way, with the last answer, but that's fine. I like his reasoning behind it. He's going path of least resistance. He's going, you know, what's the easiest to get done and gives you the most flexibility. And he's right. In that way, it probably is Jaire Alexander. What helps the team the most? For me, for my money, it'd be Trey Hendrickson. But I like his argument. I think it makes some sense. All right. Greg Bishop's going to be here in a few minutes, and we'll spend the next couple hours with him talking, hearing stories, you know, whatever it is. I don't know. I got a whole bunch of stuff ready for him. And then we'll see how he likes which is better. We'll see how he likes it. I don't know whether he can understand the rules. Greg's a smart guy, but these rules are very complex. So hopefully he can figure out which is better. We'll do that at some point as well. Going to be a fun couple hours. Stay with us. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald, exclusively with Brock and Salk.
Your cohort, Mr. Schneider, talked a lot this offseason about pivoting. How was all of that?
It's kind of how we operate. You're looking at the lens of what we're trying to build, what's going to be best for us. I know it seemed like a lot, but we had time kind of behind the scenes here. And I thought we ended up with a team we're really excited about. The guys that are here are fired up for.
Watch the full conversation on the Seattle Sports YouTube page or get the podcast on the Seattle Sports app.
Business leaders know to solve a problem, you gotta look at it in a new way. Like travel between Seattle and Portland. Why is it such a pain? I-5 traffic, TSA slowdowns, SeaTac hassles. Seaport removes those pain points. We fly out of Boeing Field and a private terminal at PDX. You park for free, steps away from your plane. And with flights every 45 minutes, you're always home for dinner. Problem solved. Seaport Airlines. It's about time.
June is Men's Health Month, and we want to place a special emphasis on prostate cancer awareness and treatment. Prostate cancer can be silent. It's important to get checked, even if you have no symptoms. Ask your primary care doc for a PSA screening if you're 50 or over, and 45 if there's a family history. If you or someone you know is diagnosed with prostate cancer, consider treatment at Swedish Cyberknife right here in Seattle. It only takes 5 short treatment sessions. Go to swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate.
Well, this is pretty fun for me. Normally, Shannon O'Kelly and I are talking physical therapy, but today we are talking First Mark Insurance. You made the call to First Mark. You took the challenge. Why?
Brock, I was looking for a local agency that I could align with similar values, and they've helped us here at IRG. They shop different plans. They find the best plan for you, the best price, the best coverage, great customer service, and great connectivity.
Did they save you any money along the way?
Absolutely, they saved us money. Obviously, here at IRG, I have several needs in the insurance industry, and they look at those needs A to Z, and they find out what kind of coverage you need, what is the best coverage, at what cost, and they're always looking to save money. And again, it's all about providing my company, IRG, great customer service.
Well, Shannon and IRG, they took the challenge. Molly and I, we took the challenge. Are you confident that your business is getting the very best when it comes to your insurance needs? If not, take the First Mark Challenge today, and it's totally free. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com, your teammate that goes to work for you. Firstmarkinsurance.com.
Synthetic Turf Northwest is now open in Fife, the South Sound headquarters for premium synthetic turf. They help homeowners with a turnkey solution, DIYers, and contractors and landscapers needing quality products. With premium turf in stock, expert advice, and pro installation services, everything you need is under one roof. Visit their new showroom off I-5 in Fife. Synthetic Turf Northwest. Supplies and installation expertise all in one place. Mention radio for up to $1,000 off. SyntheticTurfNorthwest.com.
Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. Summer is the perfect time for a new roof. Take advantage of our easy financing, summer specials, and the best warranty in the business. Have a great summer. See you next hockey season. Trust Techline.
Cracked windshields happen, and if your car has a forward-facing camera, it needs to be recalibrated. All-Star Auto Glass is the professional choice for windshield replacement, repair, and recalibration. Call All-Star Auto Glass today.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Get his freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
Brock Ewert is my hero.
Jay Buhner just punched me in the kidney.
We're going to accuse you of murder.
Doesn't really work that way, Sherm. This is a show that has my name on it.
It kind of does, though.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Ewert and Mike Salk.
Hello!
Yeah, I was telling Heather over the weekend that the Pete Carroll interview. Heather was like, why don't you get Pete Carroll to fill in for Blue 88? And I was like, well, because he has a job. She's like, oh, right, he's now the coach. I was like, yeah, that's why it was kind of a score for us to get him a few weeks ago. And I was telling her how that was now the second most popular YouTube video on our site. And she's like, oh, wow, what was number one? I'm like, And Sherm yelling at me. She's like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So anyway, thanks, Sherm. Appreciate that. Greg Bishop is going to be here, a man who knows all about star power and is around it quite often. Our buddy from Sports Illustrated. It's good to have you in, man. How are you? What's new in your world?
Things are great. I'm not sure whether to rejoice in the Sherm yelling at you, or to say you really went downhill from Pete Carroll to me.
Well, a little of both. There's no reason you've got to choose there. We're gonna do also. We got you for a couple hours, so we're gonna do everything from hearing what you're working on to Maura and I have devised a segment we call "Which is Better." It's very complicated, and I know you're a smart guy, but I want to give it some time before teaching you all the rules to which is better. So we'll do that a little bit later, maybe in the 9 o'clock hour.
Sounds good.
Let me just start basic here. What do you make of where the Seahawks are at?
I think it's really, really interesting. I came in here last summer and said, they need to do something more drastic, right? And this does feel like a turn in a different direction.
Yes.
But then you look at everything, and a lot of it makes sense. They have a lot of really good players. But I wonder if they're in the same place we talked about last August, which is, a team that has a chance to make the playoffs, but maybe isn't a team you look at as a Super Bowl contender.
Do you think they're closer to it now than they were a year ago?
I think that's a really fascinating question.
Yeah.
My instinct when you asked me that right away was no, But I think also, we don't really know exactly how all these pieces are going to fit together. They've had a lot of guys that they've drafted and developed in recent years, and I think it's definitely fascinating to me.
So if you want to make an argument that they are closer than they were a year ago, I'm trying to think of what that argument looks like. It basically has to be, we've seen a year of Mike McDonald, and we were impressed with what he did during that season and how the defense improved. You've got to be able to make a case that they're close to having an elite level defense that is going to be the calling card of this team. And then you have to probably point at the quarterback spot, not necessarily that they've got their franchise quarterback, but that they've got a little bit more flexibility now to try to figure out who that is.
Yeah, and I think I would throw into that, you're basically banking on Sam Darnold, and you're banking on him in critical situations, down in the red zone, being able to make throws and doing it without the ensemble that he had in Minnesota, which we all know is pretty amazing, right? And I also think you're saying, okay, these linemen that we're bringing in are going to add some depth, and it will be enough alongside a great defense.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Baltimore before they got Lamar, and I think you could make that argument, but there's so much uncertainty surrounding that the other argument is far easier to make,
Which is that they don't have the guys yet.
Yeah, Darnold under pressure is a big question going into the season. You look at receiver, and the sort of collection they have there. I mean, they really, really need that defense to be elite. The good news for the 12s is that, it looks like it could be.
What do you know about Sam Darnold?
I've always found him fascinating. I've tried to write him for so long, and I have really good relationships in Minnesota. So last year I was at the game here. I took my son. It was the first time he'd gone to a Seahawks game.
Nice.
And the Vikings, I'm pretty close with them in terms of relationships and having written about them. So they put us in the friends and family section.
Oh.
And the friends and family section is somewhere up near Mars. So we're
it's the visiting team, friends and family.
And we were sitting behind his parents, and I just remember thinking
the plumber, right? Isn't his dad a plumber?
Yeah,
very famously.
Yeah, and they were very quiet. Nobody was harassing them, and obviously that was a pretty wild game. And I just remember thinking it would be weird if he ended up here, because that's exactly the kind of bold move that people have been clamoring for at quarterback. And yet schematically you look at, how everything fits together, and there are pluses and some fairly big minuses there. And so I spent probably half that game thinking about it. And then when they signed him, I just think that that's going to be one storyline this season that nobody really knows at this point how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's interesting how as soon as Geno leaves, there's a rush to declare him like a top 10 or 12 quarterback that did not seem to be there while he was here. You live here, you're from here, but you've got a national bend to what you do. How is it that people feel that differently about Geno now that he's gone?
I feel like we have a weirder news cycle, the last, 5 years, 8 years. I mean, I saw some stuff when Sam Darnold had his first practice, and it was like it didn't go very well.
It didn't. I was there.
And he's never going to be good at football again.
That's different. Nobody said that.
It felt very hysterical, and I think what we do now is when somebody's in it, like Geno was, we look at what he didn't do well. Like there were some issues in the red zone, critical plays at times, long runway to get to even where he was an NFL starter. Then he leaves, and they say, oh, he won a ton of games, he was pretty good. I think no matter what's happening, the calculus is going to be negative. And I think that's just the world that we live in right now. If I had to pick between the two guys, I personally would pick Sam Darnold.
Because?
I think he just has more higher ceiling. I think there will be fewer mistakes in moments when they need fewer mistakes. And to me, that's enough of a decider. But I think they're pretty close.
I think they're very similar types of players. He's younger. He's cheaper. He gives you more flexibility. I think the biggest difference has nothing to do with what they're going to do on the field. The more I look at this situation and everything they did this offseason, moving on from Geno, moving on from DK and everything else, I think Mike McDonald just wants different types of people. Yeah. I don't think he's looking for and Brady kind of alluded to this the other day on Friday when he was with us. He's not looking for drama. And DK, love him or hate him, and there's a lot of reasons for both. There's a lot of drama. And Geno, not necessarily public drama, but I think behind the scenes, I don't know that he was, I think there was drama behind the scenes with Geno as well. And both of those guys were from Pete's era. They were not necessarily Mike's picks. I think this offseason is about making it Mike's team and starting to bring in more players that have their allegiance to him rather than to somebody else.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I only had
By the way, Tyler Lockett's the same way, and everyone loves Tyler Lockett, but he played his whole career with Pete until last year.
Absolutely. I only had one interaction with Geno's team, and it was very odd. I wanted to write him a few years ago. I thought the comeback story was great. I just missed him in New York, when I left that beat, covering the Jets for the New York Times. Then he came in, and his team, insisted that we send all the questions in advance, which I've only been asked 4 or 5 times. I actually did type them out, even though I'm antithetically opposed to doing that. And then they just never even responded. And I asked my guy at the Jets, I said, is this normal? And he said, yeah, he's just a weird dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think the picks are a big part of it. I think that the age is a big part of it. I think that what he wanted to get paid is a part of it. But I really do feel as if it was important to this team for it to be Mike McDonald's team. And you got to have guys that are your guys, that have come up through your thing, that believe you're the one that believes in them. And when Geno said he was talking to Pete over the course of the season, I mean, I don't think Pete is doing anything wrong, but the fact that he's reaching out to his ex-coach, I've been in situations like that in jobs. You generally do it when you're not happy.
Yeah, I think I still hit my editors from the New York Times up. I
bet you do.
Maybe I shouldn't admit that publicly.
But when you have a question, you go back to somebody you trust.
Absolutely, and it generally indicates that in your current role, you don't have the support or, the advice or mentors or whatever needed.
Or maybe it's just not the group that you trust because you've already formed it with somebody else.
Yeah, and so to me, you look at everything you just put together and you have a coach putting his stamp on this team, which people around here have been advocating for a long time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, we're going to do, we got almost 2 more hours to go. He's Greg Bishop. No, it's not Tom Petty, although some people seem to think you sound like him, and I don't think they're wrong. I think you've probably heard that before. There's a Tom Petty element. Do you ever do any Tom Petty in karaoke?
No, but I do. Pete Thamel and we have a rule.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't like Tom Petty, because he's such a universal, beloved figure, then I worry about them instantly.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think you're on.
You are suspect immediately.
All right. Well, we've got a couple more hours to go here with Greg, not Tom Petty. We'll give you everything you need to know next, and then we'll dig into some of the things he's working on, and it is a wild ride all around the world of sports. It's coming up. Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
In Cal, you're seeing a superstar start to develop. He's starting to get that national recognition. It's always been, when you talk about the Mariners, you'd sort of talk about the rotation as a whole. Sure. Talking about an individual, it's been Julio. And it feels like Cal is starting to move into that spot. Now, here's the thing. Neither, by baseball standards, are being paid as a superstar.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
When you have really good leaders, it makes it easy.
Gia arrived at Lee Johnson after 10 years at another dealership.
You know your job, but then you have people who you can rely on to help you with the big stuff that you need that support from. And I've gotten that every day with my service manager, with our assistant service manager, with even like our GM and our GSM. The way that, we're now on the showroom together, we are so close-knit just as a department. My service manager here, he's always open to teach you whatever you want to know. He just wants everybody to do good around him, and if somebody wants to learn something, I'm here to do it. And I've never had a service manager like that before. They're really good at promoting from within. That's one thing that I've learned from working here. I see people start out as a lot porter, and people work their way all the way up to being a general manager.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Hey 12, Steve Rabel here, voice of your Seattle Seahawks. The wait is over, and tickets are on sale now for our historic 50th season. This season is going to be legendary, with past, present, and future colliding at Lumen Field. Get your tickets today at Seahawks.com/tickets.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
When the heat's in 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
because that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave,
keep your house cool and safe.
Dayandnight.net. Make sure your AC will keep you cool this summer. Save $50 on a pre-summer AC tune-up. Or for a new system, save up to $6,000 on qualifying cooling equipment.
Dayandnight.net.
Stop bugging me pest control. This summer, don't let stinging insects ruin your outdoor fun. Wasps, hornets, get rid of those stinging pests. Call Stop Bugging Me Pest Control and leave everything to us.
Get rid of stubborn fat and address areas of loose skin with ProSculpt, the simple one-day permanent fat reduction and skin tightening treatment. Book your free consultation at prosculpt.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
For over 113 years, Pacific Lamp and Supply Company has been your #1 lighting specialist in Washington, from the Space Needle in Seattle all the way to the Riverwalk in Spokane. With the largest lighting inventory in Washington, Pacific Lamp's knowledgeable and experienced staff can assist with any lighting issue, including intricate lighting and control designs. Plus, they work with all utilities in Washington to get you the best available lighting rebates. Pacific Lamp and Supply Company, Washington's lighting experts since 1912. Visit pacificlamp.com.
If you've been in a wreck or a fender bender, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility, not just where your insurance company tells you to go. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. With over 25 years of auto repair work, they'll exceed your expectations.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
At Accurate Auto Body, all their work is performed by certified technicians, only using OEM parts to guarantee the safety of you and your family. For the best in auto body collision repair and customer service, give them a call at 425-883-2450 or AccurateAutoBodyWA.com. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
All right, well, the Mariners had lost 5 straight, and they needed something to go their way. It did yesterday. It was George Kirby. Masterful performance. That's as good as he's going to be. 7 innings. Only gives up a pair of runs on a rocket shot home run. But other than that, 14 strikeouts, sets a new career high.
His 3-2 to Ward. Strike 3 called, got him. 96, scraping the edge. Career high, strikeout 14 for George Kirby.
It was all of that. Everything was on the edge. It was all 96, 97 on the black all day long, up top of the zone, but wherever he needed to be, he was pinpoint command, and it was enough. The offense, not great, but enough. Again, Randy Arozarena had a nice day. Polanco hitting from the right side, maybe healthy enough to start doing that more. That's good news. And then Brash and Munoz just filthy to lock it down. So Mariners get back now to 33-31. That's a big win. You lose that game, you're 32-32. You're back to 500 here in June, and you're 3.5 back. Instead, a couple games over, 2.5 back, heading to Arizona now for 3. Emerson Hancock and Merrill Kelly tonight. D-backs coming off being swept by the Reds, so maybe they're in a little bit of a tailspin. This Mariner team has kind of been just up and down all year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, when I watch them, like, I really want to be invested. You know, I want to feel like maybe all the predictions were wrong and that this is going to be an interesting year where they're in the mix for a playoff spot. But doesn't it just feel like another setup, like an even greater one? They start winning games. I start following a little bit. I start thinking about what I might write. And it just sort of feels like we're headed to the end of the same movie.
Yeah, I mean, because they didn't make all that many changes to the team. The biggest thing that's happened is that Cal Raleigh's turned into the best player on earth, and he had 2 more home runs on Saturday. Just a phenomenal individual performance. We'll see where this goes next. Couple of interesting potential roster moves. Some thought that maybe Dominic Canzone is going to be called up. We'll see. And then also Logan Evans scratched from his start. Maybe there's something going on with Bryce Miller, who once again was ineffective over the weekend as he deals with the bone spurs in his elbow.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Well, Jaire Alexander is available. Here's Ian Rappaport.
This offseason, the two sides agreed to explore a potential trade. That trade did not happen before the draft. So at that point, they discussed a potential pay cut, a restructured contract. Could not agree to terms on that either. In the end, the Green Bay Packers opt for a clean break. They're moving on, and now one of the more talented corners in the NFL expected to be available today.
All right, so buyer beware, right? If Jaire Alexander's as good as he is, and he's now available after nobody wanted to trade for him, that's sort of an interesting situation. He doesn't play a lot. That's the biggest problem. 7 games each of the last 2 seasons, and when you look at his career, 7 seasons, he's played in more than half the games, only 4 times. But does he fit in Seattle?
I mean, you're looking at a pretty elite corner there. So you're back to the old risk-reward calculus. We want character guys. We want guys, who aren't going to be disruptive in the locker room. This is the kind of player we're going to have. And then, kind of depends. Maybe it's worth it. To me, he has some strong, Jalen Ramsey vibes. When he's healthy, he's as good as it gets, And when he's not, you got to wonder, is it worth the potential headache bringing him in?
Well, you bring up the headache. Brady Henderson was on Friday with me, and we were asking more about just sort of the number of people that showed up for OTAs, but it kind of goes down that similar road of what you were just talking about.
Typically, at least in years past, you've seen a handful of guys just not show up to any of them, and they would show up for the mandatory portion. And so, to me, the bigger picture takeaway here is, and I think this is sort of by design here, this is a team that I think there's going to be a little less individualism on this team. And that was something that Pete Carroll, I don't know if he welcomed it, but he sort of accepted it, knowing that, when you let players be themselves, you're a lot of times going to get the best out of them. That also comes at a cost. And there was a lot of drama that they've dealt with over the last few years. And I think that they are very much enjoying not having as much drama.
All right. Well, Jaire Alexander, Jalen Ramsey tend to lead more towards drama than not.
Absolutely. But, Jalen Ramsey went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. So sometimes, it's just such a tricky thing. If you bring somebody like that in and you don't win, you'll be blamed for bringing them in, whether they were disruptive or not. If you do and they win, you look like a genius, but that's not likely to last a long time.
My guess is there are going to be a lot of teams pretty interested in Alexander, so we'll see where that goes. Seahawks get back to minicamp. 3 days of mandatory minicamp practices start tomorrow.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
1-1 in the NBA, 1-1 in the NHL. The two NHL games have been phenomenal. The whole NHL playoffs this year have been fantastic, start to finish. Connor McDavid is an absurd human being, and the goal that Draisaitl scored set up by McDavid on Friday night was about as pretty as any goal I can remember in my life. I mean, that was special. Truly, truly special. But it's a cool styles make fights deal where you've got this high-flying Edmonton team and then a Florida squad that's deep and just really, really physical.
Yeah, McDavid is the first hockey player in a long time that I'm transcended by. I am transfixed by him.
You should.
I cannot stop watching him. I'll pull up his highlights on YouTube and stuff. I think he's just impossible not to fall in love with because he does everything. He's so smooth. He's powerful. To me, that's like hockey summarized in one body.
Well, what's interesting, though, is Florida's got the one antidote to a guy like that, which is just depth and physicality and just keep coming at him and hitting everybody. And that series is great. They got game 3 tonight. I'm not a big NBA guy, as I know you know, but I watched last night, I think for the first time all year. That's the first time I've ever seen SGA play. He's really good.
Yeah. I mean, the man can score. And to me, this has been a pretty interesting playoffs. I'm kind of like you. I'm still mad about them stealing our team. And so I don't watch as much. But, you saw those moves midseason, and then those teams aren't there. And, I just think it's been pretty fascinating.
It wasn't just step-back threes last night, which to me is really a win. You're wearing your Sonics hat. You mentioned the Sonics being stolen. Adam Silver said over the week, or maybe on Friday, that they're getting closer here. He says, quote, it will be on the agenda to take the temperature of the room in the meetings next month. We have committees that are already talking about it, but my sense is that at the meeting, they're going to give direction to me and my colleagues at the league office that we should continue to explore. So good news on the expansion front. That's everything you need to know. 1/4 every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. That's Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated, who's in hanging out with me for the next hour and a half or so till we're done at 10. I want to just this usually elicits a good half hour of conversation. I will ask Greg what he's working on, and we'll see where it goes from there. Next on Brock and Salk.
Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald, exclusively with Brock and Salk.
Your cohort, Mr. Schneider, talked a lot this offseason about pivoting. How was all of that?
It's kind of how we operate. You're looking at the lens of what we're trying to build, what's going to be best for us. I know it seemed like a lot, but we had time kind of behind the scenes here. And I thought we ended up with a team we're really excited about. The guys that are here are fired up for.
Watch the full conversation on the Seattle Sports YouTube page or get the podcast on the Seattle Sports app.
Hey, Mike Salk here with some great news from family-owned business here in Western Washington, talking, of course, about Riverside Roofing. You know I love to root for these guys, and they've once again earned the prestigious GAF Master Elite President's Club. All right, so I've been saying, right, 3% of roofers nationally qualify for GAF Master Elite status. But of those, how many achieve President's Club? Yeah, only 2%. This is truly the cream of the crop. Proudly from Marysville, serving homeowners all over Western Washington, Riverside Roofing is, yes, the roofing company you can trust. So that good news, what does it mean for you? It means you're hiring the best of the best, right? A company that gets high marks in performance and reliability and service, plus the elite warranty to match as well. Highly reviewed, highly recommended. Riverside Roofing is your go-to local roofing contractor. Book them now for a summer project and get that roof done fast. You know I recommend them. It's riversideroofingllc.com, and they are the roofing company you can trust.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at amazonbusiness.com.
Get a $15 prepaid MasterCard after rebate when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
But do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Obviously, it's a growing sport, but also this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We are the most competitive people, so regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl.
Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
The home of the Mariners.
It is gone! Cal Raleigh, 2-run home run.
Hear every pitch on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
I'm attorney Rob Iddens, proud Marine Corps veteran and owner of Warrior Injury Law. We help all types of injury victims, like Alex. At just 16, she suffered trauma after a broadside collision with a delivery truck.
When I came in, they were so nice. They were just like, don't worry about anything. We'll take care of that. It's gonna be okay. Live your high school life. We got your back. And they did. I would recommend Rob because they have a passion for caring for people.
If you've been injured, call us at 253-WARRIOR. Warrior Injury Law. Battle tested.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back?
back. If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GREEN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GREEN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GREEN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
A little mountain for Greg Bishop, who is with me, of course, from Sports Illustrated, but he's here local, so he knows what's going on in Seattle, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth between some of his stuff that he's working on and some of the local stuff. We'll do some Mariner conversation at 9 o'clock, and then we'll see if he's up for the task of which is better. Maura, I know, have you been working with Greg in between breaks to kind of get him prepped on all the rules? Okay.
I think he's got it.
See if he can handle it. That'll be at 9:30 this morning. This is generally my favorite question for Greg, and it leads us down a long rabbit hole. What are you working on these days, Greg? What's up with you? Here, hold on, let's get your mic on. There we go.
It's been a pretty interesting stretch here. I think let's do this. I'll throw out some names, and then you can tell me what you're interested in.
Well, this is like Jeopardy. I like it. Okay, I'll choose a category.
Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
The Hall of Excellence.
Okay.
The Collision King.
Ooh.
Manny Pacquiao.
Okay.
Let's see what else is going on.
All right, well, hold on. Let me start.
Yeah.
The Collision King is fascinating. I think I've got to hear that. But Manny Pacquiao, your stories about Manny Pacquiao are always great. Let me start with Collision King and then Manny Pacquiao.
So the Collision King is a man named Richie Gray. He is Scottish. He was a legend in Scottish rugby, and he became a coach. And I first interviewed him the first year after the tush push was implemented in Philadelphia, because we were doing like a reprise of the play and how it came to be. And at that point, I don't think he'd ever done like an interview with a U.S. journalist. And he was kind of like a Kaiser Soze figure. Jason Kelsey once referred to him as that Scottish dude.
Okay.
Anyway, you find out all these intricacies to the tush push, why it's not, why it's a competitive advantage, but because of what they did. How it's not a rugby play, but has rugby principles in terms of the leverage and hand-to-hand combat in the trenches.
So it's not just the pushing from the back that makes it great.
Well, here's one interesting factoid that I got from the Collision King. They don't really push on the back. It's more like an insulation, like you want a pocket around Jalen.
Okay.
And Jalen's got a really wide posterior was another thing that I've reported.
Sure.
So that essentially you just want to create space for him to do what he can do naturally, which is why you see the best teams at the tush push have quarterbacks who are strong. I mean, Jalen can squat 650 pounds.
Okay.
Josh Allen obviously is like a truck.
And so are those guys behind him, they're there to keep other people off his legs?
Yeah, they want to create space. They also want to be able to follow, the front linemen that are creating space in between it.
Okay.
And so really the trick to the tush push is having elite linemen, offensive linemen, and the techniques they use, which the Collision King will not tell me about.
Oh, he won't give you any insight.
In terms of the trenches. It's proprietary information. And so he helps create this play like in the shadows. He starts working with Christian Wilkins at the Dolphins. Christian Wilkins sets the all-time defensive tackle record for a single season.
Okay.
Then they start bringing him to the owners' meetings. Now he's consulting for, I believe, 25 of the 32
Well, it doesn't sound that proprietary.
Yeah, well, I think there are some things he gives to some and maybe not to others. In fact, our next interview, actually, I asked him to teach me how to tackle. And as you know, because you know me, I'm the last person that should be colliding with anything unless we want to, see me turn purple or perhaps lose a limb. And so to me, his philosophy on tackling in the NFL is fascinating because what he thinks is that by legislating out so much contact in practices, that essentially we've taken the training of tackling out of football.
Well, I agree with that, and I think Brock, if he were here, would jump right in on that and say, absolutely, that's true.
And so he has this system of how to tackle, which I'm going to learn this week, and it's basically similar to rugby. And he thinks that, helmets are actually detrimental, but he's not one of those like caveman guys out there beating his chest about how football's gone soft. I mean, he understands head injuries. His face is all marked up from his rugby career. He told me he played at a time when you could like claw each other.
How old is this guy?
He's got to be mid-40s.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say. And you could claw at each other while you're in the scrum.
Sure.
Like, you could claw eyes and neck, and like people are kicking, and like nobody would break anything up. And he wants safe tackling, but he believes safe tackling includes a lot more preparation of the body.
So Pete was kind of on the cutting edge of this, right? Years ago, a decade ago, he was bringing in rugby guys to work on the tackling as the NFL started to make changes.
I want to say he was the first. You know, that really like focused on it. And I think now more teams are moving that way because the way the rules have changed and the way the equipment is that still exists. Like, you really do need to tackle in a way where you're bringing a guy down instead of like, hammering him with your head or your shoulder.
All right, the Collision King.
The Collision King. That's his motto. I can see a Netflix series in my head right now.
Do you think the Seahawks could be successful in a tush-push scenario with Jalen Milroe?
I do, in fact.
I do too. You might need a center and stuff, but beyond that, like, he can certainly, he's kind of got some of those similar qualities to Jalen Hurts.
100%. And one of the reasons the play is so effective is that defensive linemen are obviously typically, more athletic than offensive linemen, but they're not as steeped in technique typically. Dan Quinn told me when I did the first tush-push story, kind of laying out what it really was, not a rugby play, based on rugby principles, all that stuff. He told me that he had considered in Dallas using offensive linemen to stop it. He wanted to do Tyron Smith and I want to say Zach Martin. And he said he
let them go up against each other.
Yeah, essentially like try to stop it that way. And I believe he said the exact quote was like the owner shut it down.
Well, I like ideas like that. I mean, I've long been a proponent that I don't understand why the NFL hasn't started more specialty linemen. Why don't you have defense or passing specialist and running specialist linemen that you shuffle in and out like you do with everybody else on your team? And it doesn't mean you can't use them for one or the other or for both, but like on 3rd and 2, or 3rd and 1, wouldn't you want different players on your offensive line than the guys you might want on 3rd and 12? Like, they just have different skills. Why do they refuse to rotate them in? I've never understood it.
I'd never thought of that before, but it's actually a very brilliant idea. And one thing that...
Thank you. And you're invited back. Thank you.
The Collision King, thing...
Don't inflate his head. No, he tried very hard to take shots at him and keep that in check.
This is a good idea, though.
I got some loaded up. We got plenty of time left in the show.
I truly believe this is a good idea. It's essentially platoons. It's like a platoon in baseball. If you don't have a player good enough to hit everybody, bring in 2 players, one who's good against righties, one who's good against lefties. It doesn't mean the other guy can't hit lefties. It just means that you're trying to put them in the best position to succeed, and you got guys that are better pass blockers and guys that are better run blockers.
Yeah, and related, one thing that Collision King, argues for is like we now in football you have a ton of strength training, you have a ton of even mental, sports psychology training. But because of the rules now and how much contact is limited, you don't really have time to do much when you're on the field except install and refine and adapt. It's like, why is there not a block of like skill training? Because you're trying to lower concussion rates and injury rates.
Yeah.
And yet you're not practicing the things that will prevent those. And to me, what he says makes a lot of sense.
We had a texter, I think, who had the idea for the tush push that rather than banning it, which I'm sure they'll eventually do, what if you just said you have to declare it, and then when you do, it's hiked on the ref's count rather than on the center snap, and so that would make it fair and allow both sides to sort of come off the ball at the same time, and then whoever wins. It will never happen, but I thought it was an interesting idea.
Well, it's very astute because that would make it more like a rugby scrum.
Exactly.
Which is how it's often described, and it would also take away the advantage. The advantage is that the one group goes first, and they don't have that in rugby, which is why you see the success rate.
I think that makes some sense, and I think that who was it who was doing it in the playoffs? Detroit? Minnesota? Who was it who kept jumping off sides, and eventually Hockley had to come in and be like, hey, if you jump again, like, we're just awarding them the touchdown. But I thought they got it right. They were trying to jump the snap count, which is really
Washington, I think.
It was Washington.
Yeah.
Right? You're right.
I got one quick aside. Because of Jalen's wide posterior,
Yes.
I had a Seattle name for it that's better than Tush Push. Baby got backed with a D. There you go, Mix.
Nice job. All right, what's going on with Manny Pacquiao? Generally, that leads to something crazy and some weird story about you in a private plane or God knows what. What's the latest with Pacquiao?
He's coming back, and he's
How old is he?
As old enough to know better, I think is what I'd say. I mean, this is a boxing story as old as time, you know. Get out of the game, milk your legacy a little bit, you know, hang out with the fam. For him, he ran for president again in the Philippines and lost. But if he wins, it's fairly interesting in an only boxing way. He'd become the first world champion ever in 4 different decades, which I think speaks.
He's got to be over 50, right?
No, I think he's, he would be, because when he fought Mayweather, he was already too old. I want to say 43, 44, 45.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Jesus, 10 years ago?
I know.
We are getting old.
I know. So he's going to be in his 50s. He's going to come back and fight?
And the sad thing is, there's a guy with a belt in his division, Mario Barrios, and he's a solid fighter, but he's not even a welterweight in size, really. So Manny's, in my opinion, he's probably going to win, too.
What?
Yeah, he'll have a legitimate world championship.
And this will be a real fight, not like the Tyson-Paul fight. This will be like a real legit boxing match.
Yeah, Barrios has fought Tank Davis, and you know he's like on the fringe of being a actual real world champion who like defends and holds it for a while.
All right. Well, I'm fascinated. He probably still has been training, right? Like I'm sure I would guess he's somebody that's almost like addicted to that.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 books for Freddie Roach, his trainer, right now.
Okay.
And one of them is on his relationship with Manny. So the last time I was down there, it was for one fight or another, and we all went to dinner at MGM Grand in Vegas. Manny looks at me, sees the gray hair that's now like invading my temples, and he points at me and he says, "We are no longer young men." I'm like, speak for yourself, Manny. Then he goes, "I am no longer boxing, and yet you are still writing about boxing." And I'm like, "I know, it's this disease."
Well, also boxing does continue without you, Manny. Despite what you might think, there are still other people out there boxing, but he's still one of the biggest names out there. So if he fights, I'm sure people will watch.
Yeah, to me, that's one of the sad parts. Like Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are going to fight here pretty soon. That's, to me, the 2 best boxers of the post-Mayweather-Pacquiao era.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt anybody really even knows that's going on. And Manny's fight, which is more of a circus, essentially will probably double the eyeballs, I'd imagine.
All right. Any chance we'll see Sugar Shane come back?
Oh, man, I hope not. When I was dealing with him back in 2005 or something, we had a fun couple days in Big Bear, California. I was already, worried about his brain then. I was saying, man, I hope he's not one of those guys I'm writing about in 10, 15 years.
Pound for pound, Pomona in the house. That's all I know. All right, let's see what else you've been working on. One more quick boxing thing. You said you were working on a Tyson documentary?
Yeah, so I have this small documentary thing I do with Jim Gray, the sportscaster, that came out of me doing his book. And we've done a few things. We recently sold a docuseries to Netflix that'll be on Tyson, but I wanted it to focus more on what he's doing now. I mean, to me, his life story can be reduced to mythological bullet points. It's the pigeons, it's Customato, it's growing up in Brownsville. But right now, his life is really interesting. His daughter's really, potentially a pro tennis prospect. She trains in France sometimes. He has all these different business ventures, some of which are more interesting than others. And he's really become this philosophical dad, which I can relate to a little bit. He seems kind of bemused by how he was before and by this crazy life that he's led. And so my goal with it is take it away from the bullet points and away from the mythology, deconstruct him a little bit and show that, this singular comet of celebrity and fame that was Mike Tyson has settled into something that's a little bit more like the rest of us, which I think is one of the craziest things of all.
I'm trying to think of what a good comp is for that. And I don't, there's somebody out there that's just kind of escaping me. I mean, there is an element to Tyson that is a little Marshawn-like. I don't think that's it's not a perfect comp because Tyson look, it's hard to have the full Tyson conversation without. Look, the guy went to jail for rape. Like that is a big part of that story. But he sort of has this savant-like hold over people where, like, you're just kind of fascinated by him, and there's almost an innocence to Tyson that even with a lot of the, really awful things that happened early in his life, he seems to have paid his debt and kind of come out on the other side of it. Marshawn doesn't have that element, so there are a lot of differences there. But Marshawn just kind of has that, I guess, that authenticity and just that ability to kind of just be America's guest wherever he goes. He seems to be welcome. And Tyson seems to have some of that now also.
Yeah, I actually like the comp a lot because to me it's two people that are famous in a way that, even famous people aren't famous.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they don't try to shape or carve or fashion their image. They just tell the truth about what happened. When Tyson was in jail, he wrote Jim Gray a letter. This is in Talking to Goats, the book that I did for Jim. And it said, like, I didn't do this, but I've done worse, and like he just never ducked that this was his life then and this is what it's like now.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with him. He's one of the oddly most philosophical people I've ever met. We talk about Chairman Mao, the art of war. He's into stoicism, so we talk about my buddy Ryan Holiday, and like it just like you're sitting there and you're going, this is Mike Tyson.
Yeah, but it's hard to square that with the guy who said he's going to fade off into Bolivian. I mean, like those things are hard to square.
I broke my back, you know?
It's spinal, right? I mean, like it's hard to square that being the same person.
Yeah, and what's cool about it, I think, is most people are multifaceted like that, but we kind of present to the world, this part of us or where we want it to be. We obviously had a superstar athlete here that did that more than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Wanting to present something to the world?
Yeah, and I think that part of what's appealing about a Marshawn Lynch or a Mike Tyson is the exact stuff we're talking about. You're getting a real, authentic human being. My job in miniature is essentially like to talk to a famous person and convince them that I'm a normal person that they can speak to in a normal way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
the gig.
That's it.
So that you can get the real them rather than the manufactured version of them.
Yeah, you just got to get something that's more germane to who they are. Not this guy loves football, not this guy is competitive.
Yeah.
Like real, actual stuff. And those guys, they wear it. Like you could see Mike Tyson any day for the rest of his life. You'd know exactly how he's feeling on that day. You wouldn't have to guess.
I'm going to guess, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about him later, but I'll jump into it a little bit now. I'm going to guess that's some of why Cal Raleigh is to this area what he is. And even before this ridiculous 26 home runs here in the first, 63, 64 games of the season, even before that, like it's the authenticity of who he is that's endeared him to the fan base in the city.
100%. In fact, I'd say like his actual, baseball skills sometimes even gets overshadowed by it. And I'd say even fairly because, it's like Paul Bunyan walking up there like ready to hit a ball, halfway to, the iceplex, and like I just think that, then his jaw and his talk and like I find him to be compulsively watchable, I guess, is like that's a bucket for all three of those guys. Like you may not. People have fairly criticized Mike Tyson, and he has fairly done some really terrible things, But like I still watched him fight Jake Paul, and it was sad to me. I
watched it with my kids. We were texting throughout the whole thing. It was kind of awesome. Matt and Oregon actually with a really good text, not sports world, but I think this is what I was trying to think of, and I'm glad you nailed it. Snoop Dogg. There's a Tyson Snoop Dogg. That's probably a better comp of a guy that's totally changed his public image of who he is. That's a better comp. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Matt. That's awesome. It's like you read my mind.
That's a great comparison.
It's a perfect comp for where they both are right now.
And a generational tethering there, like we know Snoop Dogg, if you grew up in the 90s.
Right, you know from the Chronic.
Yeah, like, and then I remember seeing him at the Olympics, and he's like America's ambassador.
Right.
And you know what? He's better than anyone else we're trying out there right now.
But this is a guy that murders the case that they get. I mean, like the Snoop Dogg of the 90s is a totally different human from the guy you're talking about now. And Tyson very much the same way. What I think is unique to the two of them is that generally it's the opposite. It's the person you're like trying to explain to somebody, this degenerate that you see now used to be somebody, used to be the real deal, used to be great. And with both of them, it's like, oh, no, this person who now has it together and now seems to be popular, successful, beloved, etc., was incredibly polarizing at one point.
Yeah, I get a lot of story pitches about famous people that are, trying to essentially sports wash their image, But, I think the difference with these guys that we're talking about is they just authentically evolved.
Sure.
You're seeing a real them, and that was the real them too. But they are, ultimately, you see that this is authentic and not somebody trying to shape a narrative that they don't like parts of it or all of it.
Yeah. Tell me, we got a couple minutes here, and then we'll take a break, and then we're going to talk a little baseball, and then we'll get some other stuff in 9 o'clock hour. But you sent me over the story about the safety from Navy.
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
Well, it was interesting, right? This was I like to write about the evolution of human beings, And so this was a kid who grew up in Maryland, who was like a fringe college prospect, then he loses the pandemic season for tape, ends up getting a scholarship to Navy, decides to take it even though he doesn't really want to enlist, becomes like a really good player. Like he was on the Thorpe list, Ray and Lane. And, then ultimately decides that it comes to see the commitment inherent in his choice. So even though he went to Navy, the Naval Academy to play football, now he's ready to go to war, and in the process, both shaped him into a guy who I think will be a really good special teams player in the NFL.
Huh.
And I just thought it was so cool that he came to see a larger purpose through this one thing that he'd obsessed about. Like that, may we all be so fortunate.
Wow. All right. So as always, every time Greg comes in, you just never know what direction it's all going to go. That is Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated, and he's working on a million different things at once. His brain moves in a lot of ways all at the same time. So you hear about some of that. I know you got to be getting close to opening up the museum, the sports museum, right?
I'm
in Vegas.
Pretty excited. So they end up doing the overall voice Morgan Freeman, but the individual items for the phone tour, which yes, the magazine writer is dealing in tech. Oprah, Jim Nance, Marv Albert, Andres Cantor, Mike Emmerich, Jim Gray, Tom Brady.
Did you deal with Oprah?
Yeah.
Personally?
I wrote for Oprah and Morgan. Yeah.
How was Oprah to deal with?
It sounds just as weird to me as it does to you.
Okay.
It still feels surreal.
What are you gonna say that's better than how Oprah would say it?
I would say I never pushed back on a single note. I was like, yeah, that's right, Oprah. That is perfect.
Yes.
I mean, to your point, that's exactly what's going through my brain. We're sitting in Mobile, Alabama, in a recording studio with Morgan Freeman, and he's like, this just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, okay, here's some options. Dare I tell him?
At least with Morgan Freeman, he's famous for his voice, and reading what other people have written. I mean, acting it, but other people, he's not a famous writer,
right?
In Oprah's case, she's famous for her interviewing and what she says and her understanding of people. You got to feel to be able to do that better than her. You got to feel, I would think, hey, I'm just saving her time.
Yeah, absolutely. Were my fingers shaking as they approached the keyboard? Absolutely. Yeah, for sure they were. One funny thing, though, is she has a couple items in the museum. We have her Tony from The Color Purple, and we have her Emmy from the first time she won a daytime special one.
Okay.
Because we have a trophy room that's really cool. It has every major trophy in sports.
Okay.
And then at the end, there's an EGOT, because it also has Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven.
Nice.
And Justin Timberlake's Grammy.
Okay.
And so, anyway, there was a big debate over whether she should voice her own items. And I'm like, this is Oprah.
Of course she should, if she can.
Well, it would be kind of weird. And I was like,
Clint to do his?
Oprah did that whole room.
Okay.
So she's the voice for it on the phone tour.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, can we get her to play along with it? I wanted her to be reading about herself and all these accomplishments in a way where she's kind of half mocking.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do that.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to talk a little Mariners with Greg, and then we'll see if he can figure out the rules to which is better. We'll do that at 9:30. We got a lot going on. Come join us for another hour. It's Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710 and 97.3 HD2.
Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald, exclusively with Brock and Salk.
Your cohort, Mr. Schneider, talked a lot this offseason about pivoting. How was all of that?
It's kind of how we operate. You're looking at the lens of what we're trying to build, what's going to be best for us. I know it seemed like a lot, but we had time kind of behind the scenes here, and I thought we ended up with a team we're really excited about. The guys that are here are fired up for.
Watch the full conversation on the Seattle Sports YouTube page or get the podcast on the Seattle Sports app.
This summer, make sure your roof is ready for the season ahead with a company you can trust, like 3 Tree Roofing. We're not just your roofers, we're your neighbors, and we're here to help you protect your home this season. Visit 3treeroofing.com to schedule your free on-site estimate and get your roof replaced before the summer rush and potential material price increases. Our certified technicians make your roof replacement easy and worry-free, so you can focus on the important things this summer. Visit 3treeroofing.com to schedule your free, no-pressure estimate. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Styling. Or possibility number 24, the latest software, upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
In 6/22/25, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
LeeJohnson.com is a dynamic research tool.
We want to give the customer enough information to where they don't have to go anywhere else to research any of the questions they have. And if they want more information, we'd love to be there to help. We don't want them to feel like they're dependent on emailing us or texting us or calling us just to get the information they need. So we put it all out there. We call them digital retailing tools, big fancy calculators where you can get in there and change the terms and change the payments and change the cash down. And it'll give you a disclosure of, hey, when you do this, this means here. And a consumer can get on there and do a lot of this themselves. And then if they choose to get us involved, we can actually get involved on the backside of it and help them along the way. We want to give the consumer the same tools that we have and let them understand what we understand.
Yup, that's pretty much what you'd expect. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all 3 like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Headed to the ballpark? Skip the traffic jams, parking fees, and the stress of driving. Make riding transit part of your game day ritual. Roll in with your crew, talk stats, and meet fans. No traffic, no stress. Community Transit riders enjoy seamless connections to light rail and ferries to get to Seattle and beyond. And youth 18 and under ride the bus for free. All in for the win. Plan your trip with Community Transit at ctgo.org/home run.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Give me a freaking auto!
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Brock and Salk on Seattle Sports.
I don't read the internet, guys.
Take the bull by the hands.
And Brooke, you are. And Brooke, you are.
Now here are your hosts, Brock Heward and Mike Salk.
253 says Greg Bishop, fantastic stuff. Bring him around more often. 509, absolutely love when you have Greg in studio. I only caught the last segment, but you can bet I'll be listening to the full podcast later on. Feels like there needs to be a more regular story time with Greg segment. Fascinating stuff with a unique perspective and view. Yeah, I would love to do something like that. Maybe we'll figure out something at some point. But yeah, it's good to have Greg in. We're going to spend another hour together. Got to hear some of what he's working on. There's more. At some point, I want to ask you about Lindsey Vonn and some of the other things that you're doing. And there's a lot of NFL stuff to talk about because, as you said, mostly you just get to write about quarterbacks because I get it. Most interesting people that, in the American sports landscape all play that position. A couple minutes on these Mariners because you're a local guy. You mentioned Cal and sort of what is it about the Cal story that intrigues you?
Yeah, I pitched him to my editors, and as you know, I've done some Mariners stuff over the years. When I was at the Times, I would always come back and write Felix just to take a trip home. And now, my first cover even was Robinson Cano right after he came here.
Yep.
And I just think Cal Raleigh has captured the national consciousness in a way that people here maybe could see coming. I just remember that playoff run and watching even that home run sail, into the wall or whatever. I find him to be Paul Bunyan-esque, like I said earlier. There's something about him. He's like the man I want to be, but never could. And I think that he's big, he talks, he's seems like a pretty straightforward guy. And I think the authenticity that drips from him is like the soul of what I'd want to write.
I think the toughness probably is a part of that, too. And when you mentioned that playoff run a few years ago, remembering that he had a torn thumb ligament that he was catching through the entire time, that pain tolerance and toughness element has got to be part of that story.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you see I brought my BioFreeze with me. It's sitting right over there.
Yeah, what do you need that for?
Yeah, from back, neck, spine.
Yeah. So the toughness element is important to you.
Yeah. It's important to not have any. That's kind of my life ethos. But, yeah, I need it for a radio interview. And I just think there's something about him that it's easy to get behind. And you see it in that clubhouse, I think Julio Rodriguez is a great leader. I think guys gravitate to him for his personality. It's infectious, but I think Cal gives him a different window into the same thing. And, it's his consistency, too, and throughout this stretch has been laudable.
Yeah. What have you – so the Mariners made these big changes, right? And we talked a lot about, the changing game and do you need to go back more towards small ball and this and that, and in some ways really pushing back on the statistical revolution of the last 20-plus years. What do you make of that whole thing?
To me, they sometimes can appear like they don't exactly know which way they're going to swing in a given month. And I think part of that is because Jaire DePoto is very adaptive, like a guy who's done a lot of different ways to win baseball games over the years. I think that the formula for doing it right hasn't really been discovered since those 2001 teams, and I don't know if you can replicate that now.
Yeah. If you were in charge of the Mariners tomorrow, and they said, all right, do you want to focus more on analytical data and the new way of playing baseball, or do you want to focus more on gut, feel, confidence and small ball, what direction would you go?
Well, Salk, you're talking to a magazine writer, so I think that
when in doubt, I mean, I'm a radio host. It's not exactly the modern media here.
To me, I think you go a little bit on feel, and away from. I mean, their analytics have netted them a ton of great prospects, some of whom have really started to play well, especially when you look at their starting pitching rotation. I think some feel and gut and instinct built into that is almost always the way to go. Like, you generally your gut's not lying to you. It might be wrong, but it's not lying. And I just think there was some serendipity maybe to those long ago playoff teams that could be replicated if maybe it wasn't so stringent.
It's just because we were talking toughness with Cal Raleigh. All of the athletes you've been around, all the stories you've heard, who are the toughest? It doesn't have to be one, but who are the toughest people you've been around, heard about, written about?
Sometimes it's boxers, but it's sometimes more fragile than you might think. Like Floyd Mayweather's hands are like dainty. They break easily. They're smaller than my hands. But the toughest thing I've ever heard is Teddy Bridgewater. When he was in Minnesota, he had that broken leg.
Sure.
And my understanding from people who saw it at practice is it was like the most gruesome injury anyone had ever seen. Somebody told me that a player threw up.
So it's a Theismann-like injury.
Yeah, and somebody else told me that everybody was crying. I'd written a lot about DeMar Hamlin. He'd definitely be up there. I talked to him last year before the playoffs and was like, why are you doing this? And I spent a lot of time with Alex Smith. You'll enjoy this. We played golf in Hawaii for the story. I know it's
sounds hard.
Tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I played poorly and shot a 108. He shot a 82, and he looks at me afterward and he says, "Greg, I can see why you write about sports. You just got your butt kicked by a guy who's playing on one leg." And if you see the leg up close, it's crazy. They rebuilt it from other parts of his body. It's partly from the other calf. It's from his hindquarters. And it just looks like a mishmash of bionic man flesh and bone.
Amazing.
And when you talk about toughness, I mean, I just couldn't even fathom wanting to walk again after that, let alone step back on the field. And he was mad that he couldn't play right away.
I love these stories, man. I could honestly, there are days where I could just kind of sit here and listen to all of it. Just since we're on the baseball tip, I know you went down to Sacramento for the opening there with the A's. It started off well. It's obviously gone poorly here in the last few weeks, which is funny because we watched that A's team. We're like, man, they look pretty good. Fun, young lineup and kind of moving in the right direction. They don't have any pitching, and obviously it's kind of gone downhill. But what did you get out of that trip and that experience?
Well, I'd say two things. One is the game I saw was kind of a harbinger for what's happening now. They're just 19-3 or something. I don't remember watching a pitch after the second inning. They put us in a suite, and you're sitting in the stands. I just writing the rest of the time. The other thing I'd say, though, and maybe this is because my first jobs were at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, is the atmosphere was really fun. It was a little packed, right? You could barely walk. But, I spent half the game sitting on that outfield lawn, just watching just totally normal people enjoy Major League Baseball. And to me, it was I'd highly recommend checking it out. You can see Sacramento in the background. You can hate on the fact that we should have their NBA team. And it just felt very it felt like when I was a kid watching Canseco and McGuire and those guys come up through Cheney or anything since. I thought the atmosphere was awesome.
It looked cool on TV. I will say, it just looked different. It's funny because Sacramento is such a small city compared to all of the other major league cities. The shots of the stadium all lit up, kind of surrounded by darkness, was funky because Sacramento, it's not the middle of nowhere, but it's not that far from the middle of nowhere.
Well, and the stadium's actually over the bridge to pass downtown, and I remember the Uber guy dropped me off and going, where is this place? I didn't see anybody walking in. The parking lots were empty. And I'm going did he take me to the wrong place? Is he am I getting punked right now?
Parking lots were empty and you didn't see anybody. Maybe you thought you were back at the Coliseum because that's kind of what it used to look like there. All right, quick break. Everything you need to know, which is better with Greg Bishop and some more NFL talk in there as well. It's coming up here on Brock and Salk, Seattle Sports on 710, Seattle Sports app.
Wyman and Bob, afternoons 2 to 7.
In Cal, you're seeing a superstar start to develop. He's starting to get that national recognition. It's always been, when you talk about the Mariners, you'd sort of talk about the rotation as a whole. Sure. Talking about an individual, it's been Julio. And it feels like Cal is starting to move into that spot. Now, here's the thing. Neither, by baseball standards, are being paid as a superstar.
Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton, afternoons 2 to 7 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Hey, Mike Salk here for Crawl Pros. It is, it's hot, man. It was hot last night, and I would not be surprised if you were feeling the heat in your house, if it was stuffy, if it was just quite frankly too warm. You're sweating. Well, a lot of that can be because you just don't have the right kind of insulation in your home. It's true all over here, Western Washington area, and it means that in the winter, your home can get cold and drafty, right? But then in the summer, an oven, and I totally know what that's like. Well, utility companies are going to help. They've got special incentives to help with the cost of having your home properly insulated, including a once-in-a-lifetime rebate from Puget Sound Energy. So if you're a PSC customer and your home was built before 1990, you could qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of that cost to properly insulate your crawl space and attic. Yeah, 95%. So get Crawl Pros to come out. They will go look through the insulation and figure out what needs to be done, and then they can help you figure out whether or not there are energy rebates to pay for most of it. Pretty incredible. Start by going to crawlpros.com to schedule that free inspection. That's crawlpros.com.
Jaden Schwartz for Techline Roofing. Summer is the perfect time for a new roof. Take advantage of our easy financing, summer specials, and the best warranty in the business. Have a great summer. See you next hockey season. Trust Techline.
Introducing frequent flights between Boeing Field and a private terminal at Portland Airport. Seaport Airlines is transforming travel with convenience, comfort, and free parking just steps from your plane. It's about time. Book today at flyseaportair.com.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The home of the Mariners, Seattle Sports.
Cal swinging a drive, deep to right field.
Every pitch of every Mariners game is on the Seattle Sports app.
Emerald Queen Casino Event Center presents the main event. Powered by WFC, Saturday night, June 14th. A night of professional boxing where champions are made and every punch counts. Contenders from the region go toe-to-toe, ready to prove they belong at the top. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss Fight Night, June 14th at Emerald Queen Casino, the boxing capital of the Northwest. 21 and older, need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
The team at Mazda of Everett is always working hard to make your experience with their team exceptional. Mazda of Everett has over 700 new Mazdas in stock, tariff-free. It's the perfect time to buy a new Mazda. Visit our friends at Mazda of Everett on Highway 99 in Everett or shop online at MazdaofEverett.com. Click the Mazda of Everett price where pre-tariff pricing still applies. Shop their tariff-free selection at Mazda of Everett.
The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day out for baseball here at T-Mobile Park.
Home. Home is where you gather. With friends. With family.
Ball to right field. It continues. Jorge Polanco.
Sometimes even folks you don't know. But in a way, you do. Because you share at least one thing in common. And one thing can be pretty powerful when it's multiplied by 40,000.
Everybody on their feet here at T-Mobile Park.
Mariners baseball. Welcome home.
Don't miss next week's showdown at T-Mobile Park between the Mariners and Red Sox. The boys from Beantown are visiting for a 3-game set Monday, June 16th through Wednesday, June 18th. Catch Cal Raleigh and the crew as they take on the Red Sox in this marquee matchup. Lock in your seats now at mariners.com/tickets.
Need to know.
15 minutes past every hour with Brock and Salk.
Here's what you need to know. Up first.
All right, well, the Mariners had lost 5 straight. They needed to win yesterday. And by the way, I thought they actually played a much better series than they had been. We talked a little bit about it earlier today. I thought the at-bats were better. Look, Julio had a decent series. Randy had 6 hits in the series. Polanco was hitting again. Ben Williamson was hitting. Like, it kind of put all those things together, JP. They didn't win the series, and you really don't want to be losing to the Angels, especially after getting swept by the Orioles. And also, you know, sort of what they've done here in the last, 28 games. They're 11-17. But I'll give a little bit of credit to them for bouncing back and playing better when they needed to, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Yesterday, it was the George Kirby show. He was phenomenal.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Into the motion. Here's his pitch. Strike 3 called, freeze him. 97 right over the edge. Career high, 13 strikeouts for George Kirby, and he sends down Mike Trout to do it.
I'll play you that one because it's Trout, but he ended up with 14 on the day. He was great and spoke to kind of how it was different from his previous couple starts.
Get ahead, kind of, hitting my spots, wherever Garb calls it, and just getting a lot of swings and misses today, honestly. If I do that, I know I'm really good. So.
He was really, really good. And yeah, we had some interesting conversations about where he's at because he doesn't have that nasty put-away pitch. But when he's throwing 97 on the black with the kind of movement and the way he can spot that fastball, kind of doesn't need it. He was awesome.
Absolutely. I think something like that is like the transcendent moment that will bring people back. And it was something that I, noticed myself. And I just think that those kind of performances are exactly what will sustain interest into another murky September, October.
He had a confidence level yesterday. And when you see an athlete kind of figure that out and get their confidence back, I thought it was very clear for him yesterday. So they get to 33-31. It's a big win. Otherwise, they'd be 500 today. Houston loses, so they're back to within 2.5 in the division. Head to Arizona for 3 starting tonight. Emerson Hancock, Merrill Kelly, who's really good in the opener, so the Mariners will probably win. And then, the Diamondbacks are coming off being swept by the Reds, so we'll see what direction that goes.
Here's the second thing you need to know.
Minicamp starts tomorrow. 3 days of mandatory practices for the Seahawks. And that's it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they're basically done until training camp starts in mid to late July. Do they need another corner? Sure. And now there's another one available. Just this morning, Jaire Alexander was cut by the Packers. This was from a couple weeks ago at the owners' meetings. Their GM, Brian Gutekunst, speaking to just how tough it's been to not have him healthy.
Well, obviously, he's been here a long time. He's been an elite player for a number of years. I think the past few years have been very frustrating for him, and certainly for us, too, just because you want players like that on the field consistently. And when you can't be because of injuries, that's a tough thing. A player, I know he's doing everything he can to be out there. I think the last few years haven't been where we wanted to be only because of injury, but obviously very, very talented player.
Yeah, and he'd be a good fit anywhere. I think a lot of teams will be interested. Would I like him here? Sure. Would I like another corner with Jalen Ramsey? Sure. But if I have my druthers and I could go after one guy that is potentially available, I think it would be much more worth their time to go after Trey Hendrickson and try to bring in another defensive end pass rusher who can change their defense.
I'd agree with that 100%. Plus, you have a lot of leverage in that situation. You know that Cincinnati has this trio of offensive players that it just backed up a Brinks truck for, and you know that they're not going to be able to. It certainly looks like they're not going to be able to pay him what he's worth. You also look at the production, very consistent, gives them an element that they've been lacking a little bit. Also would make everybody in that same defense, freer and looser and ability to get to the quarterback.
You give up a second and a fifth and then pay him?
Yeah, I would. Absolutely.
I would
in a heartbeat. And I think then you make whoever you bring in at corner better.
Yeah, I would. Well, I don't need to continue talking. We're just going to go to the next thing because that's what I think.
Here's the third thing you need to know.
NHL, NBA, both in the finals, both won apiece. The NHL, we saw 2 overtime games. First, it was Edmonton winning in a single overtime, and then on Friday, Florida, Brad Marchand scores the second of the game in double overtime. Both of his goals coming on breakaways, both really pretty. None as pretty as the Draisaitl goal all set up by Connor McDavid. That was awesome. But this has just been a really good kind of physical series. This was Greg Wyshynski on Friday before Game 2 talking about how Florida's physicality is maybe the antidote to the incredible skill of the Oilers.
So if they come out of this with a 2-0 lead coming to Florida, I mean, they might win the series. I mean, like they are extremely confident. This is probably the first time in the playoffs that a little bit of doubt has been put in their minds. The first time that someone's really pushed back on them in a pretty significant way. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Florida was able to even the series, I think, puts them right back into it. And more importantly, gives them home ice with the chance to never have to win a game in Edmonton again. If they just win all 3 games in Florida, then they're the Stanley Cup champions again.
Yep, that's where they're at now. By the way, if you're excited for the Women's Hockey League, expansion draft is today for the as-of-yet unnamed Seattle team. NBA expansion getting closer to reality as they're now also tied 1-1, as we said. I watched that game yesterday. It's really the first NBA game I've watched all year. The Thunder are really good. They play fast. They seem to play at like a different speed than everyone else.
Absolutely. It's funny aside. I went to Chris Mannix's wedding right after the Olympics. He married a boxer, Sinisa Estrada, and Sam Presti was there. Mm-hmm. And we were talking for a while. I believe I went up to him and said, "I'm from Seattle. I love the Sonics, but I'm not going to punch you today." Anyway, I was like, "How did you do all that?" And he's like, "Well, it took a long time, And like they really have an amazing roster. They have a ton of draft capital. I mean, to me, it looks like a budding potential dynasty.
It sure does, and it's sad, obviously, that it's there and in that city and with that franchise. It's just all incredibly awful. But man, they're playing some really good basketball. That is everything you need to know. We do a quarter past every hour here on the Brock and Salk Show. Yeah, look, get elite. That's what I just want the Seahawks to do something at an elite level. And I think they've got 4 starting quality / depth quality defensive end pass rushers. Like, I think they don't need one, right? With Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, who had a big leap last year, Nwosu's been a pro for a long time, and then you add DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, those guys are all good players, but none of them are 17 and a half sack a year players. Like, that's a totally different kind of athlete.
100%. And I think if you look at any team that contended in either conference for the last, let's say, 5 or 10 years, really since like 2008, when it was like Justin Tuck and Osio Minora chasing Brady around and winning that Super Bowl, I just think you need to be dominant there. And we've seen a few examples, but not many of teams that have done it collectively. What you really just need is a stud that's going to toss people around like human bowling pins.
And they've got because Leonard Williams is of that ilk, and Jaron Reed's still a really good, they've drafted Byron Murphy. There's a lot pushing in that direction. You go and trade for someone like Hendrickson, I might have put you over the top.
Top 5 NFL defense.
Yeah, and then you start actually, you said 2 hours ago, hey, or an hour and a half ago, are they close to being a Super Bowl contender? I don't know if Trey Hendrickson gets them to that point, But they'd be a lot closer because you'd have a defense that nobody wants to mess with in December and January.
Well, yeah, it changes the tenor of the discussion that we had.
For
you
sure.
know? Then you're a little bit more split. Then you can make the argument for and not feel like you're stretching.
And they have the flexibility, the cap flexibility, the resources. If they want to do it, they could do it. All right, coming up, we're going to test Greg's considerable brain power with one of the more complicated games you'll ever hear. We'll see if he can figure it out next on Brock and Salk.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
He's just eating right now.
Okay.
Cal Raleigh.
I like that.
How about that?
He's in the zone right now, and he's doing it from both sides of the plate, which is the most impressive thing. And he's played every single day, even on his day off.
You do think, like, are you going to get days off? I mean, you're hanging on to Garber to give Cal days off.
Right.
That's the one fear I have with Cal's season so far is like, hey, let's get this guy some time.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Hey, Brock Ewart here, and I've had my share of a few sports injuries over the year. I know a little bit about pain. Some of my skin was scratched off on some of that old AstroTurf. Sometimes the joints get a little achy, but you don't have to play pro sports to know what I'm talking about. Painful joints from arthritis, really anything in that itis family could affect anyone and make it hard to do pretty much anything. Well, that is where my friend, Dr. Daniel Nelson from Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine right over there in Kirkland, that is where he comes to play. He has seen so many patients through his years suffering from chronic joint pain caused by arthritis. So don't let pain stop you from enjoying your life, your quality of life. Consider Dr. Nelson the only doctor with over 30 years of experience in pain medicine techniques. I can say that confidently. Many have jumped aboard the regenerative medicine train lately. Not Dr. Nelson. This has been his passion for well over 30 years. You'll feel it the minute you call him and you walk through his doors. Give him a call this morning, 425-823-4000, 425-823-4000, or visit DanielNelsonMD.com. That's DanielNelsonMD.com.
The future is here, so why is your internet stuck in the past? With Quantum Fiber Internet, you can get next-level multi-gig speed on a reliable fiber network. Fair and honest pricing with no annual contracts or bundling required. And whole home 360 Wi-Fi to make sure your devices are ready to take you where you want to go. So you can stream, post, game, surf, like, and love to your heart's content. You do you. Let Quantum Fiber Internet take care of the rest. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service, and speed in select locations only.
Stop Bugging Me Pest Control. This summer, don't let stinging insects ruin your outdoor fun. Wasps, hornets, get rid of those stinging pests. Call Stop Bugging Me Pest Control and leave everything to us.
Get 0% financing for 72 months on Cat compact construction equipment at NC Machinery. Built for performance, durability, and comfort. Buy now and take advantage of 0% financing for 72 months at NC Machinery.
The best mornings
in the morning light
start with Wrangler.
Pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Jeans, jackets, and shirts that get your day started on the right foot.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Good mornings make for better days.
I pull my blue jeans on. I pull my old blue jeans on.
Wrangler, for the ride of life.
You've probably heard of speed dating, but what if there was something similar for hiring, especially if you're running a growing business? There is Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and talk to interested qualified candidates tomorrow. Simply select a time, and Zip Intro finds and schedules qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you'd like to connect with and meet and greet people through back-to-back video calls starting as soon as the next day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/USL. That's ZipRecruiter.com/USL.
Do you know a woman who gives her all to the sports community, encourages diversity, and empowers those around her? Stacey Rost here. Seattle Sports is partnering with the Seattle chapter of WISE, which stands for Women in Sports and Events. We want to recognize a woman in our community, and we need your help finding her. Nominations for the 4th annual Women of Inspiration Award are open until July 11th. The winner will receive a donation to the cause of their choice. Nominate an inspiring woman today at WOISeattle.org. That's WOISeattle.org.
The home of the Mariners.
Left off to center. It is on its way. Julio, 2-run home run.
Hear every pitch on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
At Washington Energy Services, we take the time to get to know you and your home. We have the passion and commitment to see each project through and to treat our work as more than just a job. For over 65 years, we've offered award-winning home services from heating and cooling, plumbing and electrical to windows and doors. Complete home improvement handled from start to comfort. For peace of mind when you need it most, count on Washington Energy Services, bringing good energy to your home.
Warmer weather, more sunlight, and your new car. That's right. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, summer starts here. With their combined inventory of new, used, and certified pre-owned inventory, you're in for a summer to remember. Their fantastic teams will set you up with a test drive so you can ride off into that summer sun the same day. Summer starts here at Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton. Whether you're in the north or the south, they got you covered. Visit their incredible showrooms today or online at toyotaofkirkland.com and toyotaofrenton.com.
O'Brien. Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at PCF Group, or People Come First Construction Group, and that's exactly what they did when we made the call a couple years ago. We wanted to redo our outdoor space, wanted to add a deck, an outdoor living, a television, and a kitchen. And PCF Group, wow, they more than delivered. And if you're interested in building a stunning outdoor area like we did, I cannot recommend them enough. Reach out before the good weather arrives, and their schedule, well, it's going to fill up. So whether you're looking for a complete outdoor living space or a very specific project like an underdeck ceiling, deck, patio cover, railings, PCF has you covered. Design now and pay later. In fact, get 12 months, no interest and no payments, and up to $6,000 off and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Request a complimentary design and estimate consultation at 425-629-8476 or project ideas. Explore photos at pcfgroup.com. That's 425-629-8476.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Brock and Salk.
Weekdays 6 to 10.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, we got a little bit of time left with our friend Greg Bishop from Sports Illustrated, and we've been wowed by stories and opinions and everything else. But this is going to be a challenge that I'm sure Greg has never faced. Can he handle? Which is better? That was which is better. What did you think? Was it complicated? It
was awesome. I can put Mensa member on my resume now. You know?
I'd say so. I would say the Rodgers thing it's astounding to me.
Yeah.
It really is. I can't believe a once proud organization like the Steelers is willing to go down this road. Why would you take the risk that this guy... do you think you're that close to a Super Bowl and that Aaron Rodgers at this age and stage is going to put you over the top, that it's worth the risk, not the definite, but the risk, that he's going to come in and tear apart everything that makes your organization special?
Consistently. And you're talking like half a century of the same ethos. And I think, to me, there's many odd opinions in the orbit of Aaron Rodgers. But one of the oddest things to me is like a smaller thing, which is like, why can he not just get somewhere on time? Like, why is there always like months or weeks leading up to this thing?
There's an easy answer to that question.
Ego?
Yes, it is ego, but it's more than that. It's I think, legitimately, without just trying to be funny, I think he truly believes his time is more valuable than anybody else's.
Yeah.
He truly, at his core, and there's the sound in here. If I had time, I would go through and find you the actual sound, but maybe you remember it from a few years ago where he's talking about how his coaches from Green Bay came out to visit him to talk to him about something in California. And he's like, oh, it's such a funny story. They're all waiting outside my house on PCH because I was busy with my, what did he say? His
some Buddhist friends.
Some Buddhist friends. And he's like, so they just waited for me. It's so funny.
But you know what's interesting?
It's like, no, it's not funny. You're a jerk.
Yeah.
You believe truly that your time is more valuable than somebody else's.
And what is sort of funny to me is the way that narratives come into his career, right? He's consistently railing against the nebulous media, you know, in a way like Donald Trump does. And he's saying that the narratives about him aren't right. And yet he knows when he's going to a new franchise that the narrative is going to be, will this guy buy in? Is he going to be a distraction? Will this be a problem along with diminishing skill set?
Right.
And instead of just showing up and putting that to bed right away, he decides, I'm just going to be me and take 2 months to decide, and the Steelers get crushed in the interim. So that starts the narrative there with, this guy's not cooperating.
Right.
Like, you did it to yourself,
and he didn't
man.
show up for the voluntary workouts and all that, where he had an opportunity. So it is confusing why, especially a proud organization like the Steelers, would go to, like the Jets. I get it. They're desperate. It didn't work. It made them worse. But, like, they're the Jets. They're desperate. The Steelers shouldn't be desperate. Like, they're the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. They're a proud organization. Whether you like them or not, why is Mike Tomlin allowing this to occur?
Well, yeah, to me, like, their logic doesn't track. It's like, we're going to trade George Pickens because that's become a problem.
Right.
And we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers because that's going to fix everything, you know? Like, okay, guys, sounds good. And to me, it says, and I don't have any reporting on this, but, like, my educated guess would be that it wasn't Tomlin's call.
That he's not happy about this? What coach could possibly be happy about that?
Someone with a very strong constitution, you know, who maybe is optimistic, bordering on delusional.
Maybe, but I mean, like he got the last coach fired instantly. I mean, like for no real reason. I always thought Robert Saleh was a pretty good coach.
Yeah,
instantly got him canned and basically took over the organization. It is funny, the whole Rooney and Mara family is going with the combination of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers this year. Two guys that have a bit of a history now of tearing apart organizations from the inside.
Does anyone in the NFL know anything? Like, look at evaluating prospects. Look at quarterbacks. It just seems like there's so much where it's just like, I'll pick this thing that I like slightly more than this other thing.
But that doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's so much money.
Yeah.
There are so many smart people that are brought in to be around those organizations. You know, Brock and I ended up in that conversation about that, last week as we were talking about offensive coordinators. And he was saying, the play calling last year felt like, do you guys remember the description Brock was saying? Sort of just like a scattershot. Like they had a bunch of plays, but they didn't necessarily have a great sequence and a plan for why they would be running each play at that time. I was like, okay, like I saw some of that. I understand what he means. And I was like, that feels like that should be very rare. And yet he seemed to think it was not. Like, there are only 32 play callers in the NFL. You're telling me you can't find 32 guys that not only understand what they're doing, but also have a sense as to why one thing would lead to another? It's that hard?
Well, I think part of that goes to how they hire coaches in the NFL. And, you've seen the league try to do a lot of different things in terms of making rules to switch that up. But what you fall into is this guy is good at this, so I'm going to get the next 6 guys who are under him. And I think sometimes that's really meaningful in the case of like a Sean McVay, right? Like you knew he was talented. You knew he could scheme. To me, he's the best leader of people I've ever seen in a coach job. And you knew he'd be great, but then there's 10 guys after him, and some of them are good, and some of them are meant to be coordinators.
But they've been chosen just because they were near him.
Yeah, right. Or like look at Adam Gase, like that's a guy who had a great quarterback. I'm sure on some level he knows football really well, but after he lost that quarterback, it's not the same. And you can ride that reputation 3 or 4 jobs.
So do you think, so I've said that I agree with what you're saying, and I've sort of wondered about that for a long time. I would always talk about it with Pete. On Black Monday, we would have that kind of conversation of like, hey, are the owners going to get it right this time and actually hire the best coaches, or are they still going to look for the best coordinator or the coordinator on the best team? And every year they would just generally look for the coordinator on the best team. But how do they ignore the fact that so many of the best coaches aren't that? Like the guys that have truly had the success, at the time they hired McVay, he wasn't the coordinator on the best team. He was like 12 years old and in relative obscurity.
Yeah.
Dan in Detroit, what's his name? The head coach in Detroit. Dan Campbell, thank you. Sorry. It's kind of the same thing. It's not like he was the coordinator on the best team, and yet he might be the best coach in the NFL right now. John Harbaugh was a special teams, like, how do they miss that the formula is not what they keep going down every single time?
Well, I think a lot of it is like we think of the NFL because like the violence in it is inherent, and because every game is close for the most part, is this inherently, risk like beckoning activity. I think that most NFL general managers and even most coaches are pretty risk averse. You don't see a lot of big swings for different things, and it ties back to what we were talking about last hour. For me, in terms of authenticity, like I always think Kevin O'Connell to me is a good example of this. Find a guy who's different, and lean into the difference. Don't say you got to be this way. Pete did it too, and there are downsides like we discussed. But I think what you're looking for sometimes is like, what you can only see with your eyes. Like this guy got it, like I can see it every time I read something, you know, like he don't got it like that, like it's just, I think it becomes more of a copycat league because guys are scared to get fired and guys are scared to fail. And that sounds so overly simplistic, but I've been covering the NFL since 2002. And it just like look at the Jets, right? Like every 4 years they go completely different philosophy, completely different scheme. They're just bouncing back and forth. It's a player's coach, then it's a disciplinarian. Like if you don't have an idea of who you are, you might as well just shut it down.
Well, I think that's what that's what makes the Steelers thing so weird with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because it's like saying we are this way. Yeah, we are this way, but not this year. Right.
And I guess, look, I mean, they had Ben Roethlisberger for a long time, and he had his own issues both on and off the field. So maybe that's sort of that. I mean, I guess even Terry Bradshaw was a wild man. I mean, so maybe that has always been part of it, but it just doesn't feel right. Are the Eagles sustainable?
I think so, but like what's interesting about that is I spent time around all their players before that game. So I talked to Bond, I talked to Brown, I talked to Jalen 5 times, I talked to Barkley, I talked to Nick, I talked to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, and I went into that Super Bowl. I don't mind being transparent here, but it's a little embarrassing, saying they were going to get blown out because it felt to me, and I reported a lot of this and saved some stuff that would really be crazy, but I didn't want it to overtake reaction. To me, they were one coarse word from like total collapse. Like one of the quotes Jalen has in the story is like they aligned just enough with the talent we have, which is a direct shot at Sirianni, but it also speaks to how tenuously it was held together. One thing I reported then was that, him and AJ didn't talk for 6 weeks. The season before, like in the same huddle, not speaking. And it's like just like my workplace, maybe yours as well. And I think, what you're looking at is a team with a roster-wise, to me, this is clearly a cut above, and they just have to get along enough that they don't like totally implode through their own. They got better, and they kept guys, and there's just no weakness there. To me, Jalen Carter was the best player in the NFL the last 2 months, like just wrecking people. And I think they're positioned, but I could see a 10-1 go sideways again too, because I think Sirianni's primary job at this point, and I'm not saying it in a way to be disrespectful, is to like air traffic control a bunch of strong personalities. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley are three very different human beings. And their alignment on leadership last year might have been the most underrated part of that Super Bowl victory, period.
You think there's any chance Jalen Milroe is the next Jalen Hurts?
I'm not sure, but they do have the same agent, and they
have some similar skills, and
100%,
both from Alabama. I mean, there's
similar doubts on them too.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen Jalen work with Adam Dudeau at 3D QB to really get some.
Drafted in kind of the same area. I mean, second round, third round, but neither were first round picks. Neither
Where
were
nobody's
fifth
sure.
rounders.
Yeah,
and I just look. I don't know what I like Jalen Hurts a lot. I think he's a really good player. I liked him in college. I think he's a good leader, a good runner. He doesn't turn the ball over. I haven't watched enough of Milroe yet to have any idea whether he can do that, but he's a better runner.
Yeah.
And he's got all the athleticism. If he can just not turn the ball over and just be a point guard, why couldn't he be Jalen Hurts?
Well, and I think he'll play some like Jalen did that first season, you know, where you see is especially like in situations, but maybe later in the year if things don't go well. He's also on my list. We'll see if
Who is?
Milroe.
Ooh.
And we were supposed to talk before the draft. I know that agency really well.
What intrigues you about him?
To the point you made, which is, to me, is another guy that doesn't fit neatly into any box, which used to be like a sign that you wouldn't make it in the NFL. And I think there are places now, look at a Mike McDaniel, for instance, where they're not going to shut the door on any sort of idea. And I think his skill set is intriguing, especially if he can get some accuracy things cleaned up.
I think it's worth remembering that Tim Tebow won a playoff game.
Yeah.
And if Tim Tebow could win a playoff game, so could Jalen Milroe. If you do it his way.
Well, and so did Kirk Cousins, right? Like, I mean, to me, leaning into the particular skill set is the whole point.
Rather than asking Kirk Cousins to be Tim Tebow or Tim Tebow to be Kirk Cousins.
They might be equally unlikely, but it's just like a maximization of, it's a maximization of skill set. Cousins is just more familiar.
We got to get out of here. Thanks for coming in, man.
Feels like coming home again. Anytime.
So fun. Love having Greg Bishop in from SI. Love hearing all the stuff you're working on. You got to have a YouTube thing going on through SI.
Yeah, they give me my own TV show. Can you believe it?
Tyson Doc coming out.
Yeah.
You got the museum down in Vegas. There's a million things. Make sure you, find all of it because Greg's the best. We got to get out of here. Brock will be back tomorrow morning. Jeff Passan will join us, of course, at 8:30, as he does every Tuesday. That's Greg's former roommate. And...
I already clipped the which is better, Jeff Passan or Peter King.
Oh, I love it.
I think Jeff would agree on the Gammo one, but some of the others I thought were kind of direct shots.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Jerry Brewer, Pulitzer Prize finalist,
pretty cool,
Seattle resident. Really proud of him.
Very, very cool. All right, we got to get out of here. Bum and Stacy up next. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6. Until then, the hay is in the barn. See you, everybody.
Get to the chopper! Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2.
He's just eating right now.
Okay.
Cal Raleigh.
I like that.
How about that?
He's in the zone right now, and he's doing it from both sides of the plate, which is the most impressive thing. And he's played every single day, even on his day off.
You do think, are you going to get days off? I mean, you're hanging on to Garber to give Cal days off.
Right.
That's the one fear I have with Cal's season so far is hey, let's get this guy some time.
Bump and Stacy, weekdays 10 to 2 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Styling. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
In 6/22/25, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply. We at 3 Tree Roofing understand that your home is your castle. That's why our certified technicians use state-of-the-art installation methods to deliver the highest warranties available. Check out our hundreds of online reviews and schedule a free estimate to see for yourself. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Got neighbors? Big Trees can help. This is Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. If you've been considering planting trees to add privacy, look no further than Big Trees. Privacy trees fill in empty spaces, help to define property lines, and add curb appeal. Learn more about Big Trees' big supply of privacy trees at bigtreesupply.com.
Beauty, privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
When the heat's an 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer.
Because that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave.
Keep your house cool and safe.
Dayandnight.net. Make sure your AC will keep you cool this summer. Save $50 on a pre-summer AC tune-up. Or for a new system,